Get the skills to stay relevant in an ever-changing digital world with the Digital Marketing Institute. In Part 2 of this free course, delivered by skills experts working in the field, you will learn the basic principles of PPC and paid search, display and video advertising, email marketing, and more. The DMI are the global standard in digital marketing certification. Join over 130,000 members working for companies like Facebook, Google, and HubSpot who power their careers with the Digital Marketing Institute. Let's begin.
So let's begin by looking at what actually is paid search advertising. So paid search advertising is advertising within the search results of a search engine. Essentially, you are putting your ad on the search engine in front of people who are actively looking for it, and that word active is really important. I'm going to reiterate how user intent is the fundamental differentiator for search advertising and how we can use it to leverage business objectives. So to begin, let's look at search as a whole. Now, search as a whole incorporates paid search and organic search, or SEO. They look quite similar. There are a lot of similarities across things like site links, clickable headlines and different things like that, but there is a fundamental difference on the back end to how they're actually deployed. Visually on the screen here, you can see that the search ad appears up the top. Generally, the search ads always appear above the natural listings or the organic listings, because from a search engine's perspective, they want to drive more traffic to clicks that they will ultimately get paid for. So search ads tend to be above the organic listings. But there are some other differentiators that we're able to see, and I'll talk about those in a moment or two. So we have an example here of a lot of similarities actually between paid search and organic search. So you can see both have headlines that are clickable, both have site links. These are the links just below the ad, or indeed the organic copy, that contain a little snippet of information that will drive us deeper into the site. And they both contain descriptions or meta descriptions, as they're known in SEO. So there are similarities, but there are differentiators too. If you look closely at that search ad, you can see up the very top there, you can see a little tiny icon on the top left-hand corner that says ad. That in itself just indicates that it's an ad. But there are other things, there are other enhancements around phone numbers, around different rich snippets and other site links and ad extensions that will also differentiate it. Now, we're going to go through all of that in this lecture, and as you become more familiar with the features of search advertising, it'll be like second nature to you to be able to pick out the difference between search and in the organic world and the paid search world. But for a quick synopsis of the two search types. With search advertising, obviously with paid search advertising, you're obviously paying for the traffic. So it's built on what's called a PPC model or a CPC model, which is a pay per click or cost per click, as other people call it. Also, an important thing to note is sometimes people refer to paid search as PPC. And PPC it's become a synonym for paid search. So even though it is actually the pricing model, it is also another word for paid search. But there are, I suppose, in terms of speed and accuracy, we do find that because paid search is a more instantaneous medium, you can get up to the very top of Google or Yahoo or Bing or whatever engine you're actually operating on far quicker than your organic optimization, which is really about driving content and links and website development. So it can be a longer, more or less controlled process than with paid search, which is pretty much telling Google, I want these keywords, this ad copy, and I want to appear in position 1, and I'm willing to pay for it. So while there are differences and similarities between the two, I suppose the biggest and most obvious difference is the speed by which paid search kind of trumps the organic world, and that is really the key differentiator between the two, though they do serve different aspects of the consumer funnel, which we'll go into later. Speed is something you should always have in the back of your mind when considering promotions and different things like that, whether you should deploy an organic strategy, or whether you should deploy a paid search strategy, or indeed how the two can work together, because they can work together really, really effectively to deliver amplified results across the marketing mix. But I suppose this brings me on to developing a little bit more what we had just spoken about. So filling gaps with your organic results is a key facet of search marketing. You can very quickly understand what searches are not being served within the organic world, or indeed being served on pages far lower than users are actually seeing. So if there's a particular keyword or type of keyword that you want to serve on, you can very quickly fill that with paid search, whereas with organic it can take time to rank, to index, and to build the content and the domain authority to drive the sufficient rank to get significant traffic for that keyword. So paid search can just fill the gaps left by organic search, which brings us on to the next item here, which is visibility. If you are ranking too low with your organic, you can push it up by paying for it with paid search, and that will just push you up higher and higher and higher. And it's a basic human factor that people don't scroll beyond maybe page 1 or 2 on the results page. They want the result there and then, and those who are willing to pay for it will get the majority of the eyeballs, will get the majority of the clicks, and ultimately the majority of that qualified traffic, with users intending to take action, which is the most valuable thing around search. Again, ties into access to market. People are actively looking for the product. They're out there and they're thinking, I have a need state, I need that resolved. If I go to a search engine and do a particular search, that will give me the answer, and we have suddenly got access to a market that are looking for our product. And of course, they're not always searching on computers. People do use their phones to search for different products based on what they need there and then. It can be an instantaneous need. Now, the thing about mobile phone usage is that because you've got a screen and people are scrolling like that, the first result they see when they do a search on Google or Bing or Yahoo or any of the major search engines is the paid search result. And based on basic human behavior, people will more than likely click on result 1, which is paid, 2, which is paid, 3, which is paid, and possibly 4, which may or may not be paid. So it actually takes a while on mobile search to get down to the organic results. So with that in mind, device preference, if your consumer is predominantly mobile focused, mobile based, you need to be operating on paid search, because if you rely on your organic listings within that, not only are you giving up space to your competitors, which can result in loss of business, you're relying on the fact that they will have to scroll down 3 or 4 or 5 listings just to see your results. So paid search is absolutely essential for any kind of mobile-based target audience.
There are 3 main search engines globally. These are Google, Yahoo, and Bing. You can see that their market share differs in different territories. This is an important consideration if you are doing international prospecting for e-commerce, or for lead generation, or any kind of search marketing in different territories. For example, if you look at the US, Google has 87% market share, Yahoo has 5%, and Bing has 6.5%. Within the European Union, Google has 91%, Yahoo has a very low share, and Bing has a slightly higher share. In Japan, Google has 68% market share, whereas Yahoo has 28%, and Bing has 4%. Within that particular geographic territory, there is a legacy issue with Yahoo. It is the incumbent search engine there, and it has been for a long time. These are the types of considerations that you should look at when targeting different geographic areas. Different search engines provide access to different audiences and user types. For example, Yahoo users might be older, or Bing users might use a specific type of mobile phone, such as Microsoft phones, as the default search engine is set to Bing. This also varies in different locations, so your territorial targeting could influence which search engines to include in your media mix. At the same time, Google has between 85% and 95% market share in most of the geographic areas. So, once you focus the majority of your attention on Google, you will cover up to 95% of the audience itself. This is the cornerstone of all marketing. Always start with your consumer and look at their consumer behavior or purchase decision cycle. The consumer identifies a need or want, they search for solutions, they evaluate the alternatives, they decide to purchase, they purchase, and then they do a post-purchase evaluation. Search behavior features in stages 2 through 6 of the purchase cycle, making it a highly effective channel to tie in with naturalized purchase decision-making. This is why search marketing is absolutely fundamental to the buyer process. In the modern age, people use search engines for their research to effectively dive into their consumer buyer journey. Search marketing has developed over time to be more and more efficient at driving the consumer's behavior or purchase decision cycle. Let's take a look at the evolution of AdWords. PPC began in the early 2000s as search engines became popular and as user habits, technology, and business developed online. New features have been added to enrich the advertising formats. AdWords is Google's search marketing platform. It was launched in October 2000. Over the years, new features and more advanced targeting options have been added to develop the AdWords suite beyond paid search ads.
So now that we know broadly what paid search is, let's look at why we might use it. And I mean, the why and the understanding of how to deploy paid search as part of your digital media mix is essential to, I suppose, getting the best out of the channel. So like everything we do in any kind of organization, we always begin with our business objective. What is it ultimately that we want to do? What is it that we want our consumers to do? Is it buy online? Is it download a brochure? Is it make contact? Is it just visit the website? What exactly is our business objective and how can we translate that into search? So when we begin with that, we can start building our keyword lists, etc. around that. However, I have mentioned it before, it does give us immediate access to a market because based on that consumer journey, people have a need state. They have a need state that needs to be resolved, and that's what's called intent. And if they have intent, they are essentially saying, I'm here ready to be spoken to. They've asked a question to Google and you will give them an answer back in the form of a search ad. Mobile position, always very important. Then again, intent. I can't emphasize this enough. I really want to underscore the importance of intent as the key differentiator and the most powerful aspect of search marketing. Now, search marketing is paid search and organic search. And again, we have mentioned that sometimes there are gaps in organic search which paid search can fill, and that's our organic optimization. But I've also mentioned things like site links and other stuff that differentiate paid search from organic search. And these are the advertising features and advertising enhancements, from everything from tracking to site links to different, and just, I suppose, improvements of the search experience to make consumers more likely to click on the ad. And I suppose and that will feed into things like our ad rank, which is a formula we'll discuss later, because there was a major change to ad rank that has to be considered beyond the original formula that Google had released a number of years ago. As I said, it takes time to optimize for organic. With paid search, it's pretty instantaneous. You can make a copy change in a paid search campaign and it can be there in 25 minutes. So if you have a time-sensitive promotion, offer ends Sunday, offer ends at 2 p.m. You can make that copy change to your campaigns and it will be there live for the consumer when they have a need state, when they go to Google and look for whatever it is they desire, your offer will be there. So the time-sensitive nature of paid search is, I suppose, a very powerful consideration that we must have in the back of our mind when we're approaching any search campaign. And of course, everyone's doing it. Everyone is on paid search. All your competitors are there. So if you're not there, you're essentially losing the most qualified traffic. Again, these are people looking for your product. And if your competitors are there and you're not there, the people who are looking for your product are going to your competitors. So you have to be there. Now, there are ways to optimize this, and that's what we'll talk about in the optimization stage a little later on. But I suppose the key benefits, and just to summarize, the key benefits of search are the relevance. So again, it's relevant to what the person is looking for. Can you resolve the need state? Can you give them the product, service that they desire at that particular moment? Timing, we've talked about the timeliness and the ability to, I suppose, very quickly adapt and change, whether it's keyword lists, ad copy, or how much you want to spend each day. The qualified visitor is something that should always be in your head when we're doing any kind of search activity, because they're coming to you. It's not like you're putting an ad out there and the consumer decides to engage with it or not. They're actually coming to you. So they're a qualified visitor. They're saying, I'm interested. And all you have to do is deliver on the promise that your search ad is saying on your website. You have the control, of course, to change your landing page, to change your website, to change your ad copy, to change how much you want to spend, to change the keywords and all of the different moving parts within a search campaign. So that kind of control, again, it's instantaneous in many ways. I mean, if it's an hour's latency, it's relatively okay in advertising terms. I mean, it's pretty instantaneous. If you think of, say, trying to change a TV ad or a radio script, which would need a rewrite and sent to the production house, sent off to the different media organizations and then deployed, you can pretty much change search from your phone there as you're doing it. So, that gives you the visibility that you do need. The metrics that are associated with search gives you the accountability that you spent X, you got Y, and that kind of measurement brings it alive. And that measurement justifies the investment. It justifies the investment in time, in resource, in media spend, and it just allows you to build on what you've done in the past to accelerate what you want to do in the future. So micro moments are a mobile specific I suppose development within the search world. So have you ever had that time when you've just thought to yourself, I wonder what that is, or I'd like to go, or I'd like to buy, or I'd want to know? Indeed, these are the moments that you have that in the past, because of device limitations, you would have to go back to your computer, turn it on, etc., just to find out the answer to these burning questions. Because we have smartphones and 4G or whatever internet access, mobile internet, you can just take up your phone and just go, I want to go. So if you as a brand owner are there to insert your brand message in the I need, I want moment of a micro moment, it's a very powerful, very emotive need state that you can be front of mind. And with that as, I suppose, a tactic for your mobile optimization, it does really bring to life one of the benefits and one of the more recent developments in how consumers use paid search.
Keywords, ad copy, and landing pages are the three fundamental pieces of a PPC campaign.
Always consider how these 3 items relate to each other to ensure your campaign is relevant to searcher intent. Keywords refer to what people are looking for and what questions they are asking Google. Ads are how you, as a brand owner, respond. And landing pages are where those people go after you have given your response. If you think of it like a conversation, people have asked something, you've responded, and you've brought them somewhere. This is the journey of search and how people behave with search engines.
Keywords are what your potential customers would input into a search engine to find your product or service. Keyword lists are the lists of keyword combinations that you would like your ad to appear in response to. It's very important to consider whether consumers are looking for information, consideration, or conversion, and create your keyword lists around the type of search intent. For example, if someone is researching, they will have different types of search queries than someone who is comparing options. And likewise, when someone is ready to purchase, they might have a purchase modifier like buy iPhone, book hotel, etc. In other words, consumers may signal their intent through the keyword itself. These basic human traits are something that you can build into your keyword lists and then ultimately drive forward with your groups and campaigns. In other words, consumers may signal their intent through the keyword itself. These basic human traits are something that you can build into your keyword lists and then ultimately drive forward with your ad groups and campaigns. It is important to have an exhaustive list of keywords that your target audience is likely to search for. This is essential for building coverage and ensuring your brand is visible for the most valuable searches in a buyer's journey. It's also important to know the function of each keyword and assign budgets to each group of keywords depending on the part they play in a conversion. Use negative keywords to cut out unwanted searches, such as low conversion or high cost, and bad brand associations. If you think of a search query, which is what someone types into Google, as a question, the next thing we have in the journey is the response. The response itself is your ad copy. For example, someone has just asked a question, what are the best hotels in New York? And you're going to come back with an ad that says, we have a spa and low rates and we're 5 stars on TripAdvisor, or whatever it may be. You're going to respond with your best foot forward in terms of what they have just asked and how that can be used to drive action. The ad copy must be relevant. If they're looking for hotels in New York, the ad should say hotels in New York, and not hotels in London or B&Bs in New York. They are not actually looking for anything other than what they actually signified they're looking for. The ad copy must be attractive. You could include an offer or a unique selling proposition, USP, and an emotional selling proposition, ESP. There are different types of deployments of an ESP or a USP in different industries. For example, the banking industry relies quite heavily on USPs. A unique selling proposition might be, we have the lowest interest rates on mortgages. That is a unique selling proposition because they might, indeed, have the lowest interest rates on mortgages. The travel industry, however, relies more on ESPs, an experiential type of search or purchase. An emotional selling proposition might be, have the most enjoyable sun holidays with your family. That's not a unique selling proposition, but appeals to the emotions. If you can create a time for your family, that is an emotional selling proposition, which is a far more effective way of engaging with the audience. The ad copy must be directional. Once you have actually engaged with that audience, you want to direct them towards some action. What we use at this point is a CTA, or call to action. If you're a hotelier, you might say, book now. Or if you're a mortgage broker, your CTA could be apply now. What you're trying to do at this stage is direct the consumer.
The user search journey begins when the user has a need or a want. They look for solutions. They've asked Google a question. You've responded with your ad, given the answer, and then the next stage is they're on your landing page.
The landing page should deliver on the promise of the ad and resolve the user's need state. It also needs to be aligned to the ad copy. In other words, it needs to be relevant, attractive, and directional. Good landing pages are related to what the searcher typed into Google, as well as the ad copy that they clicked. This increases the relevance of the search experience. If the relevance level is high, the searcher is more likely to engage with the page content. If you include CTAs, you can direct the searcher to take action on your website. This can be in the form of buying a product, downloading a document, or filling out a contact form, for example. You should take the entire search experience into account when choosing or designing landing pages for search campaigns. Some elements of a landing page can be distilled into what is known as conversion rate optimization. For example, in the slide image, we can see a landing page that contains product details to entice the searcher and quickly show how the product fits their needs, details of how the product appeals to the searcher's persona and motivations, a large clickable CTA to drive action, appealing and aspirational imagery to quickly infer outcomes. Searcher behavior is different on mobile than on desktop devices. Mobile navigation has to be simple and easy to manage, with larger CTAs and readable font sizes for smaller screens. Google Ads takes into consideration how mobile optimized your landing page is, such as whether it is responsive and designed with mobile in mind. This will ultimately affect your quality score for mobile traffic. Mobile experience is something that has become more and more important as mobile usage has increased. And with all of the updates to search engine algorithms, mobile is now a key consideration for everyone's search marketing campaign.
So in order to manage your advertising budget, we have to think about three elements here. So if we look at our daily spend, ultimately what we pay on a campaign level each day to serve those ads, the max CPC, which is what we're willing to pay for a click, and then aspects around things like time of day, day of week, and different factors that can affect whether we spend more or less. So managing our advertising budget should be the first major consideration for delivering your business objectives. It is your investment into the advertising. It is what you want to see the ROI on. And as PPC is very much a conversion channel, try not to think of it as a budget spend, but actually a commercial return. So when you measure over time your e-commerce metrics, for example, you might find that for every €100 of media spend, you actually get €1,200 worth of revenue. Therefore, for every €1,000 invested in AdWords, you get €12,000 worth of revenue. So you see it as an investment piece rather than a marketing piece. And if you think about it in commercial terms relating to your business objective, when you're doing PPC, you'll find it much easier to reduce inefficiencies in your account, because an efficiency in spend doesn't give you the commercial return you want. And that's how you have to look at it. It's, I'm investing, and do I get the investment back to what I expect? And anything that doesn't drive that investment, you need to kind of reduce the visibility or cut that out altogether. So knowing how much you want to spend on PPC is directly linked to knowing how much you want to make from that spend. So if you want to make €12,000 and you know that you need to invest €1,000 to do that, that's your budget. It's actually that straightforward. Now, it does take a little bit of time to work out these metrics. So, you know, like everything, you build it up and you start small, but then over time you will see that the investment, it does equate to a revenue return. and that's more how a commercial PPC manager would look at it. And you know, like everything, we are I suppose constrained by our allowable budgets. So we must ensure that we're only investing in the areas that do drive that return. So we don't go over our allowable budget with any inefficiency or something like that, because you know that certainly just leads to difficulties with stakeholders, and managing your budgets is an effective way to keep the investment strategy on course. Now, AdWords offers different ways for you to manage your budget, such as your daily spend, which is what you actually want to spend on a campaign, and you can control this. You know, now just to bear in mind that daily spend can go over by up to 20%. If there's a lot of click traffic, AdWords will just open it up for you just so you can get that traffic. Now, it is equalized out over the course of the month, so even though you might have had a click spike on one particular day and gone over your daily spend, by the end of the month, AdWords will have worked out what you should have spent based on that average daily spend. The next is your maximum cost per click, and this is the price you're willing to pay for a click. This is set at ad group or keyword level, as I said, and this is an important equation here. The sum of all your clicks multiplied by your CPC is how much you've spent. It sounds quite simple, but actually that is the fundamental of pricing in paid search advertising. And then thirdly, you can schedule your ads only to run on certain days or only at times when you know that it's peak conversion time, and you won't be spending at times when there's not. So you can have a limited incremental reduction in how much you spend on the efficiency of your account by building in an ad schedule to your campaign. Right, and in order to manage daily spend, each campaign has a daily spend, and by structuring your account correctly, by search volume or by type of keyword, conversion keyword, awareness keywords, you can manage effectively how much you want to spend each day, and that will translate into that investment return and within the context of your overall marketing budget. As I mentioned, putting keywords with similar search volumes allows you to control how much the high traffic keywords will spend versus how much the low traffic keywords will spend. Grouping keywords together by what they actually do, whether they're awareness or whether they're conversion, allows you to invest in higher ROI, give more budget to closing high ROI keywords. So these are the keywords that lead to the sale, and maybe smaller budgets for the top of funnel awareness drive and stuff. So when you structure your account efficiently, daily spend becomes quite straightforward, and the bid management strategies around how to drive the best performance become quite clear, in the sense that like you're able to start choosing from away from maybe the standard optimized for conversions towards things like a target CPA, which is a target cost per acquisition, or other AI driven bid management options available to you within AdWords. But it all starts from that structure. To ensure you don't actually go over your spend, using things like a budget tracker is quite useful. So what you need to do really is, in a fairly sensible, usually in a table using Excel or another tool, you have your total budget, how much you've spent and how much is left. And simply by tracking that on a day-by-day or weekly basis, or whoever your frequency is, it allows you to ensure that you don't go overspend. Because when you start reaching, or overspending, you can pull back. Or if you're part way through the month and you see that you've only 10% of your budget left, you may have to make some changes around how much you're spending in the different campaigns. And knowing how the campaign is structured, seeing that maybe we should just reduce spend on high volume keywords for the awareness driving keywords, or consideration keywords, so we can start deciding where we want to move our budget from if we're getting close to our spend. But tracking your budget is essential because it's paid search, so you're paying for it, and you do have more than likely a limited budget to what you can work on within a monthly, quarterly or yearly basis. Again, using the metrics available to us, we can forecast. So using whether it's impressions and clicks to understand our CTR, there's different formula for understanding how much we might need to spend in order to drive a certain amount of traffic. For example, in this example, our cost per click is €1.50. We need to drive 1,000 clicks to to hit our KPI based on our conversion rate. So therefore, in order for us to drive 1,000 clicks at €1.50 per click, we need to spend €1,500. So you're able to forecast out how much you need to spend based on the traffic that you need, which ultimately has a conversion rate, which ultimately leads into your conversion. So working backwards from that, we're able to forecast out, and conversion rate is the most important metric for any kind of commercial activity. So we'll have a goal to drive a certain number of sales. We will know that based on our current conversion rate, we need to drive this amount of traffic at our current conversion rate to hit our sales KPI. This traffic is €1.50 per click, so we multiply that by the traffic required, and that gives us our required budget, and that's how you forecast. How you actually pay is decided in what's called a bid auction. The bid auction is what AdWords uses to determine how all of the different advertisers who are trying to bid for a particular click will pay. So if there are, in the example here, we've got three different advertisers, each bidding different amounts for a particular keyword. Now, based on things like the quality score, the historical data, and other factors around the advertising account, the landing page, and different things like that, these advertisers will end up paying different amounts than they're actually willing to pay based on these factors, and Google decides that for you. It uses one of the key drivers of how much you will pay is your position on the page, whether you're top of the page or in the middle or wherever. This is decided using a metric what's called ad rank. Now, your ad rank is decided by your max CPC bid, so what your maximum you're willing to pay multiplied by your quality score. That will determine where you actually sit in the page compared to your competitors. So quality score is essential, and quality score is that metric that was introduced in 2005. It is a metric that Google assigns to your keyword based on its CTR, its bid, and its landing page relevance. So again, we're thinking landing pages, bids, we're thinking CTR is historical based on what your CTR has been over time. Google's able to assess your landing page, but having a high quality score means that AdWords thinks that your ad, your keyword, and your landing page are all relevant to that particular user. And if you have a high quality score, you get rewarded for that. So quality score is the most impactful way to cost effectively increase the position of your keywords without drastically affecting your bids. So having quality landing pages and quality ads is easily the most effective way to affect where you rank on the page. And ad rank is the factor that Google uses to determine what position you're actually going to end up in after the bid auction is complete. And it works by, as I said, multiplying your max CPC bid by that quality score, and that gives you your ad rank. Now, how search ads and traffic is actually priced. These are just the key elements here. So we've got our max CPC, so how much we're willing to pay, the quality score, our estimated CTR, and the landing page relevance. If we keep these four elements in mind when optimizing towards a constrained budget or just trying to drive efficiencies in our account, if we can affect any of these factors, it will impact positively on the amount we pay and the efficiencies that we drive in the account. Another way to see where we actually sit compared to this competition, there's a tool in AdWords called the Bid Simulator. So the Bid Simulator collects and analyzes data from ad auctions on Google all the time. So it looks back broadly about 7 days, and it considers the information like the quality score of your ad, your competitors' bids, your product data, and it will tell you how many clicks you might receive for a certain bid, how many conversions you might receive for a certain bid, the traffic. There's different metrics it will give back to you based on different bid levels over time. The bid tool is quite useful because it's automated, and it takes a bit of the guesswork out of where you need to be bidding to drive the results you want. It gives helpful insights on how bid changes could potentially affect your results. So if you reduce bids, what would that look like? If you increase bids, what would that look like? So rather than just kind of taking a shot in the dark, it gives you an estimation. It's, again, a forecasting tool to see what might happen if you changed your bids. And it's a good predictor of what could potentially happen with an increased budget. So if you have the ability, not all keywords have the bid simulator available on them. It appears over time when there's enough historical data, but there's a tiny little graph just to the right of the keyword, and you're able to click on it and it will give you the bid simulator, and that's where you'll see the screen. It'll show you the different options available to you and the different levels and the outcomes. Now, some best practices on deciding on bid levels. So there's a number of metrics that we can use to decide on bids. An important one here is impression share. So impression share is the number of times your ad shows up when someone searches. So for example, if you have 100% impression share, you show up 100% of the time when someone looks for that keyword. If you have 50%, you only show up half of the time. You know, and ideally, you want, for any keywords that convert, you want them to be shown up in the high 90s in terms of impression share. You do want your high conversion, low cost per conversion keywords showing up as often as possible. And we'll go into a little bit of that in the optimization piece. The other way you can decide on bids is using the estimated metrics. So there's two metrics available to us in AdWords: estimated first position bid and estimated first page bid. So one is the top of the page and one is just to be on the first page. This will just give you an idea of what ideally you need to be bidding to be in those positions. Now, even if you are bidding, you still won't spend 20%. You still won't spend any higher than 20% of your daily budget. So there is that flexibility built in there. And you know, what that means is that like any kind of bidding strategy does have an openness to the amount it can actually spend. The other thing is there are other bid strategies available to us. So we do have target CPA, we do have manual bidding, optimized for traffic, optimized for conversions, and different things like that. So testing each against your KPI is essential to understand how best to set your bidding strategy, not just your levels. What I would say as well is don't rush into making your decision. The first few hours of launching a campaign or even a test can give very different results than if you run it over a longer period of time. So ideally you want a minimum of 1,000 impressions and you know, a statistically significant level of clicks. So I wouldn't run a test for shorter than 3 weeks. It's not long enough. You need to test for at least 3 weeks and drive well over 1,000 impressions for low volume campaigns. For high volume campaigns, yeah, you need hundreds of thousands of impressions, but a good 3-week period gives you almost a month cycle. If you do have the ability to test for a month, do test for a month, because then you have the natural monthly cycle of getting paid, moving through the purchase process. Maybe people are light on conversion once in the middle of the month because funds are running dry, and then coming towards the end of the month they start researching again. So you do get the full cycle of consumer thought process around a monthly test. There are a number of automated bid options available to us. The standard is just your manual CPC bidding. It focuses just on driving traffic. It optimizes for traffic, and you can add an enhancement to it which will use your conversion data. This is called Enhanced CPC Bid or ECPC. It tells AdWords to raise your bid by up to about 20% if it believes that, using your historical data, that you're likely to get a conversion from this click. So it allows you to just automatically bid a little bit more aggressively if there's a likelihood of a sale or a download or a contact request or a conversion from this click. Then there's more automated bidding options, and these are getting quite advanced at this point. There's a lot of artificial intelligence being built into AdWords. We've got maximized conversions, which will obviously try and maximize the number of conversions you can get based on historical data. Maximized clicks, which is just driving traffic. Not a fan of it myself. If you're in any way conversion focused on your site and you do want to drive sales or contact requests or phone calls or whatever it may be, I would say maximize conversions is a better strategy than maximize clicks. If you just want to drive traffic, yes, it's fine. But if there's an additional goal around conversions that you're really optimizing towards, maximize clicks doesn't always work as well on that. Then over time, you do have your target CPA bid, which will, when you build up enough conversion history, it will try and optimize your ad serving and your bidding to drive conversions at a certain cost. So while maximize conversions just drives as many conversions as possible, target CPA drives as many conversions as possible at a certain cost. Further to target CPA, when you're an e-commerce site, we have target ROAS, which is return on ad spend. So it will work towards how much sales you expect to get from your budget. So target ROAS is very much an e-commerce driven one, works great over time if you've got very high conversion campaigns, and definitely one worth testing. We've also got these other two bidding strategies to do with competitive bidding and awareness. So we've got target search page location, which is an automated bid strategy to drive as many impressions as possible in the first position. So you're just appearing in the top result as often as you possibly can for your daily budget. And then target outranking share is the final one. So this is an automated competitor bidding type that tries to optimize your ads to serve higher than your competitors in as many possible ways and in many possible auctions over the day for your daily budget as you can. The last two are less effective bid strategies. Ideally, maximize conversions, target CPA, target ROAS, and manual bidding are the standard top performing bid strategies within AdWords. Linked very closely to your bidding strategy is your quality score. Again, quality score comes in again and again. So you always want to have a high quality score because it just makes your bidding strategy more effective. And some top line points for improving your quality score would be to write better ads, to refine the type of traffic you're getting by adding negative keywords, to improve your landing page as always, and to test those bid thresholds. So increase your bids by a couple of cents for a few days, or reduce by a couple of cents for a few days, up and down, and just test those bid thresholds to see what your impression share looks like over time. So now we're going to look at the Bid Simulator tool, which is a tool that gives us some insight into what we can expect if we change our bid up and down in terms of clicks and conversions. It's a kind of forecasting tool that just helps better understand our click thresholds. So I'm just in the Google Ads Manager account here, and I go over to accounts. Then I'll choose an account, maybe the DMI account here. And then obviously this is at a keyword level, so we're not going to go to campaigns or ad groups. We're going to go down to keywords. And then we can scroll down and we can see that any of these keywords with the little graph beside the bid itself is the Bid Simulator tool. So we can just click in here, and that will give us different scenarios based on how we can bring our cost up or down based on different bid thresholds. So the Bid Simulator tool is a very useful tool to understand what really should we be bidding for a particular keyword based on it's important to us, and what the Bid Simulator tool is actually saying in the interface itself. So a very useful tool to help understand our bids within Google Ads. So we might be interested in seeing what are the types of words and phrases that people type into Google to trigger our keywords. These are called search queries. Search queries are bridged by match type to fire our keywords. So we don't have every single thing that a person types into Google in our keyword list. What we use is we've got a list of keywords, and Google uses some matching technology to match our keywords to the type of search queries that people are typing into Google. So let's go ahead and look at the type of things that people are typing into Google to fire our keywords. So over on the left hand side, we can go to keywords and just expand this out, and we're presented with a number of different keyword options around search keywords, which are our keywords themselves, our display and video keywords, any negative keyword search terms, or our auction insights, which shows us how our competitors are bidding against the keywords that we have on our account and where we sometimes lie in the bid auction. Now, if we want to see what keyword people are typing into Google itself, we just go to search terms. Then in search terms, we can see all of the different keywords that have fired our keywords based on the fact that they are a phrase match, a close variant exact match, a broad match or a modified broad match, and we're able to see whether they're added or excluded. So if I sort this way, so I can see all of these different search queries that have been added to our account. Now we may be only interested in seeing search queries that are not added to our account. So let's just do that. And we can go through these and review the metrics, the CPA and different things like that. And then we can see which search terms we might want to add to our account. So when we choose them, we can add them either as a keyword themselves or as a negative keyword. If they've got a low CPC or a good conversion rate, you might want to add them as a keyword. If they've got loads and loads of clicks, loads and loads of costs, but no conversions, you might want to add them as a negative keyword. So we're able to see what are the type of things that are firing our keywords, and we can add them or we can cut them out as we see fit. We do this using the search terms report in the keywords drop down here. And if we want to see what negative keywords we've already added, we can just click in on negative keywords and we're able to see our list of negative keywords added to our account already. So the search terms report is a great way of finding new keywords and new key phrases that you might want to add to your account, and indeed any negative keywords or negative search queries that you might want to cut out from your account. The next level after optimizing towards quality score and setting your bid strategy is there's an additional feature in your campaign optimization called bid adjustments. This works on a device level, on a location level, and on an audience level. So you can bid certain amounts for mobile traffic. If you want to show more on mobile, you can. If someone does a search on mobile, you can say, well, I want to bid 10% more for mobile traffic because it's very valuable to me. Or if mobile traffic isn't valuable to you, you can say, I want to bid 50% or 100% less on mobile traffic. If you bid minus 100%, that means you cut out mobile altogether. You can also bid for certain locations. So if a visitor from, say if you're advertising in the UK, but you find that London is a particularly good zone for conversions, you might say, I'm willing to pay 20% more for a click if the searcher is from London. So that allows you to kind of push a little bit more in high conversion locations. And then thirdly, using your remarketing, you're able to bid on different audiences. And we'll talk a little bit about remarketing later for search, because it's slightly different than the type of remarketing we would do for display. Just a deep dive into device bid adjustments. If most of your conversions happen on a desktop, you might want to increase your bids by 10%. If most of your research happens on a mobile, and it's research, you might want to reduce your bids by 15%, because you're like, I want to drive the research traffic, but at the same time, I want to pay a little bit less for it. And you can add your bid adjustment to your devices by choosing the devices section in the left-hand tab and adding your bid adjustment there. It's very straightforward, and it's literally you add a percentage bid adjustment up or down depending on the device, mobile, tablet or desktop, and what you want to do. Following on from this, your location targeting also allows you to bid for certain locations. Now, I've spoken briefly about why you might want to do this, and it's set up in exactly the same way as mobile and desktop bidding. So over in the left-hand menu, you've got your locations tab, and beside each location, you're able to add a percentage up or down depending on how much you want to bid up or down for that particular location. And then finally, we've also talked about ad scheduling as an important factor for driving efficiency in your campaigns. So you're able to bid up and down at certain points of the day. So not only can you turn your ads on and off at certain points of the day and days of the week, you can say, I'm willing to pay 20% more for traffic between 11 o'clock in the morning and 2 o'clock in the afternoon, because that's when most of my conversions happen. So you can bid more aggressively at the time when you know conversions are likely to happen, and therefore hopefully beat the competition to those clicks. It's a very good way of deep diving into the purchase timings around your activity. As part of our optimization strategy within Google Ads, we should think about our device and our location strategy. This gives us the opportunity to focus in on hotspots of conversions or traffic or of value. And if there is a particular device that is driving loads of conversions or clicks, we should bid up on that to increase visibility there. Likewise, if there's a certain location that is driving a lot of conversions or clicks, we can bid up there. Of course, the alternative is if there's parts or devices that are less effective, we can bid down on them. So let's look at optimizing our bids for devices and locations. So in Google Ads itself, just down on the left-hand menu, we can scroll down to locations here. And then we can see our different locations, and depending on what we feel is most appropriate in terms of value of a particular location, we can add what's called a bid adjustment. So we can say, if someone from Scotland searches for a particular keyword or within a certain campaign, increase the bid or indeed decrease the bid depending on how effective it is by 10, 15, 20%, because we're going to say we want to be more visible for searchers in Scotland because they're really valuable to us. Likewise with devices, we may find that computers drive loads and loads of conversions. So if someone is coming from a laptop or from a PC, we know that there's a higher likelihood of them converting. So we want to be really visible for anyone who searches for that particular search term from a computer or from a laptop. And then likewise, sometimes they say that mobile devices drive a lot of traffic but not a lot of conversions. So we may want to bid down a little bit on mobile devices because they simply don't drive the level of conversions that we are looking for. So we want to reduce our visibility on mobile devices and focus a little bit more on our high conversion device, which in this case would be computers. This does differ across industries. It does differ across companies and clients and all that. So the best thing we can do in terms of our location and our device targeting is look at the data and see where our highest number of conversions may be coming from. And we can see, yes, in this instance, it is all on computers. So maybe we want to bid up on these. So that's a way of optimizing your devices and your locations as part of your Google Ads strategy. So one thing we can do is we can add what's called a segment to understand what are the top conversion times of the day. So we just go to our segment area here, and then we go to time, and we go to hour of the day. And that tells us the different hour of the day where people are clicking and converting. So we can see that there's, in this particular campaign, a lot of conversions happening at midnight. So maybe we want to bid up at midnight. And if we scroll over a little bit more, we can see that there's a lot of impressions happening at 7 o'clock in the morning. So loads of people are looking for us, but it's not translating into the same number of conversions. So maybe we're not visible enough at 7 o'clock in the morning. So what we can do is we can increase our bid to get a higher page position and higher impression share, which will mean that we are more visible to searchers when that high propensity of searchers begins at 7 o'clock in the morning. And this is the type of intelligence we can get to allow us to schedule when we want our ads to run using day parting and using the scheduling feature over in the left-hand menu here where we can create an ad schedule within Google Ads itself. So digital display advertising, what exactly is it? Well, it's an outbound display advertising format where you target predefined audiences with images or banners. There's also native ads and text ads in the mix in there. You target them on different websites, on social media platforms, and also on mobile apps. Very important here, outbound advertising is a concept where the advertiser targets the audience and sends their message out to them, as opposed to something like inbound, which would be search, where the audience comes to you. So there's a key difference between the type of marketing that display is. It's an outbound advertising format. And that brings us nicely on to talking a little bit about the differences between search and display. So it's really important to distinguish between display advertising, which is what we call a push channel, and search, which is more of a pull channel. So what a pull channel does, it captures existing demand, and what a push channel does is it sends out messaging from a brand to generate that awareness, ultimately to begin the journey of that demand. Another common distinction between display and search is that we target audiences with display, whereas with search, the audience essentially comes to you and targets you. Search serves ads to people who are actively looking for your product, and they will show what's called consumer intent. So essentially they're coming to you with a need or a want that needs to be fulfilled. Whereas with display, you're going to them going, maybe you would like to be interested in this product. When we visualize a funnel, it's quite clear to see where display fits in the consumer intent journey. So we begin with awareness and interest. So this is kind of where display fits in. We're sending our message out there to people, to audiences who may potentially be interested in the product. And as we move down the funnel, as they get more and more aware, as they align it to their needs, we start moving into the consideration and conversion areas. So consideration and conversion can be around channels like remarketing, in this shopping, as well as search as well. And then with our attention piece, the remarketing fits back in there too, because if you think about remarketing, we're sending ads out to pre-existing customers or people who've been on our site before. So if we want to retain these people as repeat customers, it makes sense to kind of remarket out to them with special offers for people who have been on the site before, etc. Just to go through some benefits of display. So the top benefits of display is, well, we increase our brand awareness. The thing about brand awareness and product awareness is consumers aren't going to actively know they need your product until they know about your product. So driving that awareness is key. Likewise, when they're in that kind of decision-making process, it helps improve the consideration set and brings that product into what's called the top of mind. And once you're in that zone, then you can start kind of pushing a little bit forward, maybe bring in some social or bring in some search to just convert them onto the revenue generation piece. But ultimately, we have to begin with our awareness and then driving our consideration. Because when we want to create that purchase intent, it has to start somewhere. And ultimately, this is what our display marketing does. Likewise, because searchers, for example, and I'll use search as a comparison here, because searchers, for example, know about your product and they actively seek it, they represent a small slice of the overall market, whereas what display does is it branches out to many different audiences and ultimately increases your reach. And likewise, because the reach is so broad and targeting with different methods like retargeting, we can re-engage with our existing customers. The other great thing about display that really trumps search is the fact that display advertising formats are a lot more engaging. They're visual, they can move, they can change shape, you can enter details. They're a lot more engaging. And when it comes to social display or video, we're bringing in audio and moving pictures. We're also bringing in the ability to comment, like, or share. So the engagement levels go right up. So our ad formats are really, really effective in that regard. The other thing is, comparative to traditional ad formats, TV, radio, print, or any of the other outbound traditional formats, digital display is a lot more cost effective in the fact that you don't have to make TV ads or print big billboards. And if you do need to change something, it's relatively cheap and inexpensive to do. You don't need to go to printers and get them put up again or anything like that. So you can see the efficiency has been driven by digital display. Of course, it's not all rosy. There are some challenges certainly around digital display. You find that in recent years, the rise of ad blockers, the extension in Chrome or any of the other browsers that prevent ads from being shown. So even though you're trying to serve your ads, there's a preventative measure in the person's browser that stops you from it actually being seen by your audience. So finding new ways to engage with the audience or sidestep ad blockers is a key challenge. Like with every kind of ad format, ineffective creative means that your message won't get across as effectively as you'd like and can just lead to poor results. Likewise with audience targeting, if you don't actually know who you're targeting, your message won't be received or as understood as well as targeting the correct audience. And again, lack of cut-through represents an ongoing problem across all ad formats. That is, we refer to it as banner blindness. When there's so much out there, when there's so many ads out there, it's difficult to actually cut through that mix and get your ad seen by the right audience at the right time. The objectives for a display campaign, because of the type of activity it drives and encourages, which is awareness and consideration, is different generally than the KPIs you will set around search, which would be more around conversion and driving sales or leads or revenue or whatever it is. So in the planning stage for display, we want to look at, are we trying to build awareness or influence consideration, which would be more in that top of funnel area, whereas there is also the option to drive action. So the driving action piece tends to come in with your remarketing or any kind of very precise audience targeting with a clear CTA. The results will be quite different now between paid search, for example, in the drive action piece and displaying the drive action piece. Both will do it. Just I would say that search will be more on the effective side, while the drive action piece with display will be more around recovering maybe people who didn't buy on your site, so you're remarketing to them or whatever. So it is an option. It's the less effective option within the three. Like we'd mentioned in the problems or the difficulties we face with display advertising, defining your audience is where you begin. So we need to find who are the audience who are most likely to be interested in our product. And we can discover this through brainstorming, through internal research, through just what we know about the market itself, and common sense and best practice. There are also predefined audience targeting within things like the Google Display Network, within social mediums, and then there's advanced audience targeting using display, programmatic or other methods of retargeting like that. But business intelligence, which relates to those KPIs that we set out for our initial campaign and aligns to our audience, is a core facet and just can't be, I suppose, reliance purely on your media house or the predefined options within the platforms means that we're lacking the bespoke needs of our own business that, should inform who we are actually targeting. Then likewise, we need to understand where they actually are. So we will find that different markets and certainly different areas within markets, cities and suburbs, will behave differently, defining then the audience groups within those regions. And then on the next level and final level should be demographics. We'd always recommend not starting with demographics because demographics doesn't represent the motivation of the person. Two 25-year-olds could have the exact same demographic, but very different motivations in terms of fitness, for example. So targeting just 25-year-olds with your ad for a certain fitness product might not suit the other 25-year-old. So as you see, demographics is not the starting point for any audience targeting. It is an extra level on the motivational or psychographic targeting that we like to begin our targeting with. And then if we have the ability, budget and data, we can start using things like programmatic. So what programmatic does is it looks at your website, it looks at your conversions, it feeds it into an algorithm of maybe 11 million different variables, and it picks the right audience, creates a profile, and serves your ad to those people at the right time based on the historical data of your site, data within the market, and data about that audience. So the targeting and the bidding is all done automatically through machine learning and artificial intelligence on the programmatic scene. And then finally, we can also look at what websites people have visited. So if you can understand where they go, we can just have an arrangement with that website. So if it's a certain newspaper, The Guardian or the New York Times, we can have an arrangement, a display arrangement with those newspapers, for example, to serve display ads to their audiences, because this is where our audiences go. Indeed, we can serve it on different sections too, so it's not just the entire run of site. A media plan defines where exactly our ads are going to go. Media plans can be created by our internal team, by yourself, or indeed by our media agency that we're working with. It's a very useful document because, first of all, it's a financial document that shows what we're paying and what we're getting. It shows where we're going to be doing activity, the names of the websites or the type of targeting, and it will also show the run dates. So when these campaigns or when these line items are expected to run. So when we have all of this in one place, we're able to see in a snapshot what our campaign is going to do, what we're going to deliver in terms of that reach, impressions and clicks. We can, if we have enough historical data, start predicting things around conversions, but it's not always wise because of the type of channel that display is, that we don't always want to include conversions on a display media plan, because its pure focus is to drive awareness, not drive action. Search drives action. So this will show us our reach and our impressions and all of that stuff in one centralized document. It's very useful for keeping things on track, making sure things go live, and making sure that you don't overspend or underspend on certain channels. The benefits of a media plan, as I mentioned, is you can track your overall costs, you can project manage your campaign, you can forecast results based on the number of impressions you get versus your KPIs. It verifies your media choices because you can go back to your media plan and see what worked and what didn't. And then that will inform how you're going to deliver your creative, because you might find that certain types of placements, social placements, for example, might have a more informal creative style versus traditional display placements. So it may inform how and what type of creative you do want to deliver for the different line items. A creative brief is what you write and scrutinize in terms of what is the messaging you want to give to your audience. A creative brief is a document that's written by the campaign planner or channel manager for a designer or creative house to give a series of assets or outputs. They can be video, they could be banners, they can be copy, it can be content, it can be native. There's various different formats that we can request. It's all put in the brief. So, I mean, what we need to include is our product details and our campaign objectives. Then the creative knows what they're writing for and what they hope to achieve with their ads. And then the information on the audience based on what we know about them and any research. So the type of tone that would be brought into the ads, so they know that, well, this is the type of audience and this is the objective. So this is the tone, colors, and style they should use in the ad. That informs the messaging and the copy. And then that will ultimately translate into the required formats based on our pixel dimensions. So whether it's a static ad, whether it's an animated ad, if it's a social ad, if it's a video ad, we do need to go granular and make sure that we do include as much media details in the brief, because the creatives work off this and they need to know what they're doing and how they're doing it. And then finally, we always need to include our brand mandatories. So anything to do with logos, style sheets, T's and C's, offer ends, colors, any of that stuff, all has to go in, because that keeps the client happy. So you can see the media plan sets out where we're going to put our ads, and the creative brief translates that media plan into the messaging that we're going to bring out to our people. So the benefits of a creative brief, well, it communicates the requirements in an efficient way to designers. That means that you'll reduce the amount of wasted hours, it reduces time and cost, as I said. It gives you a holistic view of the campaign, because this is the ultimate output of your campaign, and it validates the effectiveness of agreed messaging, because when you see it live, when you see it created, you're able to see, yes, this is on brief, or no, this is off brief. And when you have that, you're able to scrutinize the activity that you've already undertaken. So an example of just some display platforms here. So we've got our Google Display Network. The Google Display Network allows advertisers to serve video and display ads on over 2 million websites, reaching over 90% of the entire internet population. So you will reach nearly everyone on the web using the Google Display Network. There's multiple ad formats, there's different targeting options, and a diverse selection of video and responsive ads to choose from. And then we've got Facebook. So Facebook is a social media platform, equally 2 billion users worldwide. They're quite engaged. It's what's called a logged in environment. So because they have a profile with an email address and to access the platform, we have access to their demographics and their interests and various things like that. So it's a strong and accurate way of targeting people. And if you consider the mobile nature of Facebook and the mobile nature of the internet community, it's a very close medium to transient users. So it's good for targeting any kind of mobile use. So we then have AdRoll. So AdRoll is primarily known as a retargeting platform. So what we do is we add a pixel to your website or a piece of code, and anyone who goes to the website is then retargeted, essentially served ads on premium websites and premium partnerships across the web with your ad. It's based on a CPM basis, and there's a slight amount of programmatic associated with it too. Likewise with Criteo. So Criteo is a specialist e-commerce targeting platform. So when you look at a particular product on someone's website and then you decide not to buy, and then you move to another website, Criteo will serve you that product, the image from the website, the price from the website, and when you click through on that ad, it drives you back to that product page. So it's a highly specific e-commerce retargeting option. And then we have other things like premium network buys. So we spoke briefly about premium network buys if you wanted to buy access to a particular audience. So if you wanted to buy access to the Guardian's audience, because you know that they're likely to be interested in your product, or indeed a section on the Guardian or a section on the New York Times or whatever it may be. It's premium, so therefore it's more expensive. Unlike the Google Display Network, where you pay on a cost per click basis, so you only pay for when someone clicks. With premium display, you tend to pay on a CPM basis, which is cost per 1,000 impressions. So again, it goes back to the awareness piece. You're serving impressions because you want to generate awareness. And premium display tends to be anywhere between, it can begin at €8 CPMs versus what you'd be paying on the Google Display Network could be €2, €1 CPMs. So it's a lot more expensive, but the impact is a lot greater. The ad choices are a lot greater. The ad formats, the access to a particularly specific audience is a lot more impactful. What we do with premium display is we tend to leave it for very large campaigns like a summer sale or a winter sale or something like that. It tends not to be for always on or ongoing activity. Your always on display will be generally based in Google Display Network or Facebook, or perhaps some low cost programmatic. So we begin with the Google Display Network, or GDN as it's known. The Google Display Network is a good starting point because it's a low-cost, mass-reach channel with great targeting options. The Google Display Network, or GDN, is a display advertising channel that allows advertisers to serve display ads to their target audiences using AdWords. So AdWords is Google's ad serving product where you do search and video and display. So this is the display functionality of AdWords itself. The GDN allows advertisers to connect with customers and potential customers using text, using image, using rich media, using video, including YouTube. It reaches millions of websites, and the expansiveness of this network means that you can drive your awareness out to different locations at different times for a relatively low cost investment compared to other channels. It can help you reach consumers when they're browsing websites, reading the news, reading content that's related to your ads or related to your products. So the connection between the content they're reading and your ad, it's hoped that will drive a bit of awareness or connection or interest, or just begin the journey through the top of funnel activity. And we can also target people on lifestyles, and we can look at people based on their interests, based on the types of website they look at, based on the content within the websites. We can retarget them. We can also select specific placements. So specific websites, we might find that there is a specific website that we do want to target on the GDN, and we can do that. So specific website targeting is not solely associated with premium buys. You can also do it on the GDN. It tends to be in lower quality ad formats or ad units, but still the option is there. Just to go through some benefits of the Google Display Network, and indeed some drawbacks. So like any display, it does allow for brand awareness. It can drive that consumer intent or interest in the product. We can remarket, and remarketing is quite powerful on the GDN because there is an integration with Google Analytics. So we can remarket to people not only on the pages that they've looked on your website, but the type of activity that they've undertaken on your website, so how long they might have spent, if they're repeat customers, if they came from a certain channel. So that the type of remarketing that Google Analytics allows you to build can be easily transferred to the Google Display Network. It's not able to be transferred to any other network, so there is a USP associated with Google Analytics retargeting and the GDN. Unlike the CPM-based advertising, where you pay for an impression, on the Google Display Network you don't. You only pay if they click through. So your impressions are actually free. So, now there is a caveat to that. The fact is that you will pay if someone clicks through. But we're happy to pay because if they've clicked through, it shows that they have a higher level of intent than someone who just looks at our ad. They've not only looked at our ad, but they've decided to move to the next stage and go to the landing page. So, but our impressions are ultimately free. So our awareness piece gets a benefit of that. Likewise, it's quite measurable, it's countable, and it's flexible because unlike, as we said, with traditional display, if you have an ad up there, your ad has to be up there. It's printed, it's made, and it's on a billboard or whatever like that. Whereas with digital display, your ad could be swapped out very easily. So that flexibility allows you to chop and change in campaign, and if something has to change very quickly, it can happen to turnaround time based on your creative outputs. And that brings us on to the different ad types that are available to us. So because the Google Suite involves YouTube and a variety of different ad formats, it's a highly flexible option for us. Now the only drawback is it is very specific in things like file size. So while the format and the messaging can be quite creative, the file size is limited to 150 kilobits. So that gives us a limited scope for highly creative options. We can't do certain things with our creativity simply because the files can't be that big. And as a result, the placements that tend to sign up to the Google Display Network can't command those premium prices. So sometimes we do get shown on less impactful and lower value placements as a result. And because it's such mass, it's such a wide-reaching net, your expectation has to be managed in such a sense that your results don't get skewed beyond what you actually expected. A very important aspect of any kind of display activity are the images and ad sizes, so the ad formats as we call them. This is a series of ad formats here. These are the most common ad formats, standard ad formats across the web. We've got our leaderboard, which is the most impactful ad format in terms of click-through, simply because it's at the top of the page and it's the first thing that people see. As a result, it drives most clicks. The most engaging ad format is the MPU, which is a 300 by 250 ad format. It's the square, it tends to be in the content, embedded in the content. So when someone's reading something and their eye glances into the MPU, we hope to capture their attention and engage them more. And then the final most common format is our skyscraper formats, whether it's a skyscraper or a wide skyscraper. They're commonly used formats. They tend to be less impactful simply because of where the eye line is on the page. With the leaderboard, it's up the top. It's the first thing we see, we get it. With the NPU, it's in the middle. It's in the content we're reading. Whereas with skyscrapers, they tend to be just to the side of the content. So as a result, our eyes tend not to focus in on where the leaderboard or where the skyscraper is. As a result, it's less effective. There are other formats to consider around mobile. So we've got mobile banners and large mobile banners. This is a key consideration because if you think a mobile format and mobile screen is actually quite small. So creating a separate suite of mobile banners allows you to ensure that your messaging is readable on a mobile device, because if you simply scale down a leaderboard or an NPU onto a mobile, it may not actually be readable. So doing a 300 by 50 banner ad on a mobile device allows you to ensure that, that the messaging is readable, which is essential to what we're trying to achieve here. Just some specifications around ad formats. So we've got our non-animated ads, our static ads, which can be our GIFs, our JPEGs, or PNGs. We've got animated ads, which can be GIFs, and then we've got HTML5 ads, which can be uploaded into Gmail and expanded out in a specific ad format. And we'll talk a little bit about those, later. So the maximum file size, as I said, is 150 kilobits, and the measurement is in pixels. These are key considerations for a creative brief, because if we deliver the wrong ad formats, we can't use them. So we can't run our campaign. And there's different specifications that must be put in the brief in order for us to create the ads that we can use in the Google Display Network. Ads will differ on different channels. So Facebook has different ad specs, and Premium may have different ad specs. But ultimately, we will be generally contained to HTML5, animated or static. To ensure that we don't have to go to a designer every single time when we're running ads in the Google Display Network, Google has what's called Responsive Ad Creator. So you can upload an image into Google and write some text, and Google will create a template that overlays that text over the image. Likewise, because consumers are on different devices, Google will ensure that the text responds and changes shape depending on what device they're on, where the image actually plays. So while on screen we can see at the moment NPUs, if the ad needs to be served into a skyscraper format, the image will reshape into a skyscraper. Likewise, it'll reshape into a leaderboard or whatever shape the ad unit is. So this allows us to create one single ad unit that responds to all of the different ad units available to us on the Google Display Network without a designer. It's cost effective. The only drawback is the creativity can be a little bit limited, but we can test that over time. Some advantages and disadvantages of responsive ads. Well, the first is it's a single creative source. It's a single creative piece. So again, it's the one source of our activity, and it's the single piece that means that when we update our creative, it expands out to all of the different units that we serve in. It keeps our messaging consistent and our style consistent, because again, it comes with that single output there, and it's super easy to create. So there's a setup wizard in the Google Display Network that simply guides you through the product. You upload your image, you write your body copy, you set your landing page, and you press save, and that's it done. You do need to consider what is the image you're going to upload, whether it's a stock image from the Google library, whether it's your own image, or it's an image you're going to create. But the idea, in an ideal world, you will have a defined image for your campaign and not just scrape your website. But if that has to happen, it's okay too, because it does limit the costs that are associated with any kind of creative output. Now, that does mean that scope of responsive ads will be a little bit limited, because again, we've said that this is all we can show. This is the single image we can show, and this is the single copy we can show. Whereas if you were to approach a designer, you might get multiple different ad formats, multiple different copy styles, and send them out there. There are restrictions on copy as well. So there are character limits on your headline and on your two description lines within a responsive ad, so you have to consider those. There's also copy restrictions on your images. So there will be a certain amount of text that is allowed on the image and a certain amount of text that's not allowed in the image. And again, The GDN won't be the only channel that we use in our display media activity, while just responsive ads are limited purely to the GDN itself. There are other ad formats outside of responsive ads on the GDN. So we do have Gmail ads where we can target people within their Gmail based on perhaps their subject line of senders, the body content of emails that they've sent or senders have sent, the email addresses of the domain names of who sends them emails. So if you wanted to target, for example, your competitor's newsletter list, you can just put the competitor domain in as a targeting option in your Gmail ads, and then anyone who gets their emails from that domain is liable to get served your GDN Gmail ad. It may or may not happen. The only thing is, with ad blockers, and certainly with the way that Gmail is set up, it tends to be in the promotional tab, so it's not always served. Sometimes you find at Gmail ads it leads to mixed results, but it is worth testing as part of an overall display campaign. Then also on the Google Display Network, you've got engagement ads. So engagement ads are expandable MPUs that will run a video when someone hovers over them for a certain number of time. So if your mouse hovers over a certain MPU placement, it literally goes 1, 2, 3, and then the video plays. So it's like expanding your YouTube reach and your YouTube formats out to the Google Display Network, and that brings us onto YouTube itself, which we know is part of the GDN, where you can run your pre-rolls or your mid-rolls or your in-ads. So you can serve banners on YouTube videos, or you can serve videos that appear before videos that people are looking at. And then there's the dynamic remarketing, which is similar to Criteo, which we discussed about at the start, which is the e-commerce retargeting. You can link your Google Shopping account to the Google Display Network and drive remarketing based on the products that people have just looked at. It will show the product they've just viewed, the price of the product, and the landing page of that product. So similar to Criteo, but just on the Google Display Network, where the partnerships with Criteo tend to be around premium websites, whereas the Google Display Network, while similar in functionality, might be lower value websites. Not only do customers just browse content, they also engage in social media. So we all know that social media operates based on an advertising model, where we sign up to a platform, and based on the criteria that we enter about ourselves, we get to use the platform for free, because we can then be targeted by advertisers based on our preferences and based on their targeting options. So social display operates the same way as all other display. You know, you choose your audience, you upload your ad, and you serve your ad to that audience, and they choose to engage with it. So the only difference is with social display, users generally have the ability to interact more with your ad, so they can like it, they can comment on it, they can share it. These functions are not available in traditional display. So traditional display is very much brand to consumer, while social display is very much brand to consumer with the consumer feedback loop. So that is the fundamental difference between the two ad formats, will be the engagement piece. However, you know, there are other distinctions in terms of the shape and the type of ad formats we might use on display channels too. We're going to look at Facebook Business Manager as our starting point for building our display activity. So Facebook Business Manager is a free tool by Facebook on business.facebook.com, where we can import all of the pages that we manage and create ad accounts associated with the different pages, keep them all separate, so we can have one account for one client, another account for another client. We have access to different ad formats, new rollouts, retargeting, conversions, all of the different enhanced functionality that Business Manager gives you, outside of what's traditionally known as boosting a post within Facebook. We don't recommend boosting a post. Use Business Manager. It's free, it's powerful, it's much more effective for delivering on your social media display activity. Quickly to run through some benefits of social display advertising. It's a it's a logged in environment. So because the consumer has to log in to use it, all of their interest and associated data comes with them every time they log in. So we know when they're actually online, and we're able to serve ads specifically to those people. That gives us the kind of advanced features that we're looking for in terms of audience targeting, segmentation, retargeting, different ad formats, and the engagement piece too. Likewise with Facebook, because it owns Instagram, we can integrate directly with Instagram itself. So not only do we serve ads on Facebook, we also can serve on Instagram, on Messenger, and like the Google Display Network, Facebook also has partnership agreements with websites called the Facebook Audience Network. So we can expand our reach out to Facebook users who are not actually on Facebook but are on other websites. So that's what the Facebook Audience Network does. Other benefits of Facebook Business Manager is we can separate client and brand pages. So we may be running multiple pages and multiple ad accounts for clients. We're able to separate it all in Business Manager but log in one single area. So it's a single login into that area, and then it's an easy environment for targeting and advertising within the UI itself. I did mention we do have remarketing and conversion functionality within Business Manager, so that gives us that enhanced understanding of achieving our KPIs and re-engaging with our audience. So let's look at some Facebook ad formats. So when creating Facebook ads, you should consider the audience, the device, and the placement. So device is essential for Facebook because, as I said, it's so mobile, and you have to consider, is your audience mobile or are they desktop based? So this is why creating your ad itself is essential for that. Likewise, ads render different on the mobile device than on a desktop. So you have to verify that your ad formats are suited to the device that you're choosing. And likewise with Instagram and the partner network, it is possible to toggle between the ad formats and see which works and which doesn't. And if your text is unreadable or too small, perhaps consider, changing it or putting it in the post itself. But you may need to revise the creative as a result based on your ad choices. So let's look at some examples of Facebook ads. On the left-hand side here, we've got a right-hand ad and a desktop newsfeed ad, and then we've got a carousel ad. So the static ad on the newsfeed on the right hand side is it's an ad that's there. It has a post copy which gives you an intro to what the ad is about. It has some details on the image itself and more details as copy below the ad itself with a CTA. Then on the right hand side, we've got a smaller variation of this. It's a drill down version of that newsfeed ad, but just placed on the right hand side. It's desktop only. And then we've also got a carousel ad. So the carousel ads can appear on mobile and on desktop. These are ads that will contain multiple ad units, and you scroll across on your mobile device and can flick between products or flick between news segments or whatever it may be. Whatever is contained in those ad formats, we can sort between them. So if you want to target one particular audience, but target them with a number of products or a number of different messages, perhaps a carousel ad is the way to go. Other networks, of course, within social would be Twitter. So Twitter and LinkedIn allow us to just expand into different audiences now. And this is the key difference between social. You have to think of the mindset here. So with the Twitter audience, you might be buying access to a conversation around a TV show as people double screen, or access to followers of certain handles. While on LinkedIn, you're buying access to a professional network, people who are there for their job, people who are there for generally a more serious purpose than the other social channels. You can target people based on seniority, industry, years of service, job function, the location. So if you are heavily into B2B or trying to engage with a professional audience, LinkedIn could be a choice. So mindset of the audience will be a key consideration in devising that social media plan. As I mentioned previously, the Google Display Network has a certain suite of ad formats, while social media channels have different ad formats. So within Facebook, the standard static image would be a 628 by 1200. They're pixel sizes. And then Twitter, we've got an 800 by 200 might be the ad format you choose. Within LinkedIn itself, we've got a number of different ad formats. So we can use the 628 or indeed 627 by 1000 for newsfeed ads on LinkedIn. There's also the mini text ads that appear on desktop over on the right hand side. They're 50 by 50. It's usually enough just to fit your logo in. And then there's LinkedIn MPUs, which can be served through programmatic display. So LinkedIn will have arrangements with other premium buys and other premium networks, including Criteo, to serve MPUs on the LinkedIn network. You can also buy directly MPUs with LinkedIn. An important part of display activity is to consider that display isn't simply just banners and those type of ad formats. We also have social display, and an important part for social display, for reach and for targeting is Facebook Business Manager, because that's where we can manage our Instagram and our Facebook advertising to our logged in audience. Remember, an audience on Facebook is logged in. They use their email address. They've given you all their details. So generally the targeting is quite precise. So let's look at Facebook Business Manager, which is available for free at business.facebook.com as a way of managing your ad accounts. So once you've set up your business manager, you can add an ad account in your business settings. In this area here, we can go to ad accounts, and then up in the top middle, we can create an ad account, or we can request access, or we can add an ad account we already own. Now let's just go and look at some ads and creating an ad for Facebook itself or for Instagram. So we'll just choose an ad account here, maybe this one. And very simply, we press this green CTA button, which is the create button. Then we choose our objective, which might be driving traffic to our website. This is our ad campaign builder down the left hand side here. So we're going to drive traffic. That's the goal we want to achieve. We can then name our campaign something, and we can choose to split test the creative, and we can also choose to split the budget across the different targeting groups or ad sets in the campaign and give more budget to the best performing ad set. So let's just go ahead and take that. Our daily budget, or we might have a lifetime budget, and we are going to have a bid strategy around lowest cost or lowest cost with a bid cap. Lowest cost is fine. So whatever we're happy with our daily budget, and then we can leave lowest cost as our bid strategy. Move on to the next step. Then we have said we want to drive website traffic. So yes, we're going to drive it to our website. Are we going to use dynamic creative? We can do that. For more advanced users, you might want to use dynamic creative depending on the integrations you have and the budget you have available to you. If you're doing an offer, you know, something that someone can redeem in store, if there's a certain period of time that they can redeem something, we can choose to do an offer. But for the majority of users, we don't have to use these two. We just have to tick the website option here. And then name our ad set something like, so that's going to be the people we are going to target in this targeting group or ad set. An ad set is a targeting group. And then we can create an audience. So our country will be Ireland in this case. We have said they will be women. They will be aged 25 to 34. So very straightforward demographic targeting. And we can choose to enter language or leave it as is. And then we can choose some interest-based targeting. So let's put in digital marketing. And we can choose digital marketing here. And then our audience size is down to 31,000 people. We can then press this suggestions button, and it will give us additional related topics that we can, so maybe online advertising, social media marketing, a job title, maybe another job title, and we're growing our audience all the while. So we can just build a targeting list there. And then if we want a connection type, so people who are connected to our page, or exclude people who are connected to our page, or indeed people who have used our app, or exclude people who have used our app. Generally don't touch this in most cases unless you want to be very specific. It's fine to just leave it at your interest-based targeting and no real need to modify the connection type. Then we can choose automatic placements, so where our ads can show, they can show on Facebook, on Instagram, on mobile, and on desktop, in Messenger, and on the partner network. Or if we want to choose where they show in terms of mobile or desktop, we can do that by editing the placements and then choosing what parts of the Facebook network do we want to include. So will it be Facebook, Instagram, Audience Network, or Messenger? So we can tick or untick any of these as we see fit. So let's just leave that as is. And then we can choose, are there specific devices we want to show this on? It's fine to show it on all mobile devices. Importantly, are we going to set an ad schedule? So is there a start and end date? Or are we just going to run with it? So we're going to optimize it for landing page views, which we should. And then all of this stuff, the advanced options, are fine. We can just leave them as is in terms of how we charged, what's the kind of bid strategy and different things like that, ad scheduling. Leave that as is. That's generally fine to leave as is, and then continue. Then we just have to choose what page our ads are coming from. Then we choose what formats we want to use, so carousel, single image, or a collection. And then we just simply build our ad. We build our ad, we use our headline, our description, our landing page. See more URL if there is one. Not always necessary, landing page is usually fine. And then our call to action might be any of these things. In order for us to track our Facebook activity in programs like Google Analytics, we can use a URL parameter. So in this instance, our campaign source will be Facebook. Our campaign medium might be paid social. And then our campaign name will be Facebook, women aged 25 to 34, digital marketing interests. So when I look in Google Analytics, I will see that my campaign source is Facebook, my campaign medium is paid social. And in my acquisition report down at the campaign section, I will see a campaign called Facebook, women aged 25 to 34, digital marketing interests. And then in Google Analytics, I'll be able to see which are more effective. And then when I'm happy enough with that, I can add it, and that gives me my custom parameter. Then when I'm happy with my ad setup, I simply confirm it and launch it. And that's how you very quickly use social display as part of your display mix within a digital marketing strategy. Buying mechanisms are essential to understand how you're actually going to pay for your campaign and how you're being charged for the activity that your customer has undertaken based on either looking at your ad and clicking through your ad. So CPM is the format, is the pricing method we'll start off with. So it's fixed pricing. You're paying for 1,000 impressions. It's generally associated with premium display. You can do it on the Google Display Network. It's not the default option, but you can do it on the Google Display Network. Essentially, you're just paying to serve ads. You're paying to serve ads. You're not that interested in the traffic it generates. It's more about the impact of the creative, the messaging, and serving the ad as often as you can to hopefully get it into the consideration set or get it into the front of mind or in the minds of your consumers by the messaging that you push out there. So it's cost per 1,000 impressions. It can vary between low CPM, which would be the Google Display Network, to high CPM, which would be network buys, some programmatic and premium network arrangements. So the other methodology around it would be CPC. So CPC can be sometimes agreed with affiliates. It can be agreed with partnerships with certain websites through arrangements that you have specifically with them, but generally it's most associated with the Google Display Network. It's not the default option on Facebook, but you can set it to the default option on Facebook, and it is the default option on LinkedIn. So ultimately you're paying for those clicks, you're paying for the action that someone has taken. You're less interested in the awareness piece. So you might find that for your retargeting campaigns, you put it on CPC because you're not trying to drive awareness here. You're trying to bring them back in to the fold and hopefully convert. So you want to pay for traffic only, traffic back to your website. So perhaps CPC is more suited to retargeting and CPM is more suited to your awareness driving activity. And then there's viewable cost per 1,000 impressions, so VCPM. This can be associated with, I suppose, what was originally a difficulty within display was people were serving ads and being charged for those ads, whether or not the person actually saw them or not. So viewable CPM means that 50% of the ad has to be above the fold, so on screen of the user for a minimum of 1 second in order for it to be counted as a CPM. So that it doesn't totally mean that the person is actually looking at it, but it does mean that they are more likely, it is more likely to have been on their screen for a period of time than serving ads that were below the fold and no one ever even saw them, yet you're still paying for them. So viewable CPM tries to bring a little bit of transparency to the pricing methodology around CPM. This is an example of just some premium buys. So again, you're buying the association of your brand with a large brand like the New York Times. They tend to do things like homepage takeovers, where you'll take over the top banner and the 2 skyscrapers, maybe an MPU in the middle, and some other ad placements around the homepage. Ads can expand, they can embed videos, they can embed forms, they can be a lot more creative. Cost is significantly different from the Google Display Network, but you're buying access to that audience, or indeed the section of a website. Maybe it's the sports section or the lifestyle section or the homepage, or indeed what's called run a site, where your ads are liable to appear anywhere on the site based on what the available inventory is. So you're getting access to the site, but you're not guaranteed certain points, but you are guaranteed that you will be shown. It's just not in certain sections. You're leaving it a little bit up to chance. You may appear in the sports, you may appear in the obituaries. It can be anywhere. So it's cheaper, but but sometimes less effective. And I suppose in terms of why you would buy premium display, is you only want to really buy premium display if it's part of a big impact campaign, because the cost generally won't be justified by doing it as an always-on activity, and I had mentioned that previously. To continue a premium display, as we recommend, use premium display as a big ticket channel purchase to drive high-impact creative engagement as part of a big campaign, so your summer or your winter sales. Just see, not everyone can buy premium campaigns. You need to generally go through a media house or have an arrangement directly with the website itself. You're buying impressions. That's what you're buying with premium display. You're buying a number of impressions. So they give you a CPM, which is the cost per 1,000 impressions, and they say, we will give you 10 million impressions at this CPM, so this is your cost. Now, they will include bonus impressions, free impressions, and sometimes they may package in things like access to their social media network or an email shot if you're spending a lot of money with them. So, certainly negotiation is key here, whereas Google is a fixed price methodology. You're just paying for the clicks and that's it. It's a standard self-serve. Everyone gets the same arrangement. With premium display, you can negotiate a little bit through your media house or through your account manager in the site itself. They do allow for more creative ad formats, so you need to understand with your account manager what are the ad formats that you're going to be using on premium display. Will it contain animation that runs across the screen? Will it contain input boxes? Will it contain videos? Will it have track packs? How exactly are you going to improve the creativity with the functionality available on the website? And you'll have to consider things like, ad serving. So what ad serving is ad serving is a tool that ultimately you upload your creative into the tool and then you give the website a tag. So the tag is placed in where the ad is going to show. Consider the ad like a window. And the ad is placed, or the tag is placed in that window, and the ad is pulled from the ad serving tool into that window every time our audience is on that site. So benefits are we get to count the number of impressions we've served, because we're not relying on the website to tell us, we served this number of impressions. We serve because we serve them from our ad serving tool. So we can know with very high accuracy the number of impressions that we served. That means we can validate the cost that the the website is charging. We can also understand click-through. We can change the creative out quickly because we don't have to get in touch with the website and say, hey, can you change our creative out? We can do it in the tool itself, and we can manage our costs. We can manage our conversions. Tools like DoubleClick can integrate with Google Analytics, so we can start integrating across other channels and other platforms within the Google suite and understand it deeper within Google Analytics. Some of the drawbacks will be mainly around cost. They can be quite expensive, and if you're not doing a lot of high impact display, you generally wouldn't buy one yourself, but you can piggyback on the access to ad serving from your media house, for example. They'll more than likely charge a fee for this, but you know, you can, at least you'll have the transparency that the ad impressions that you thought you were getting will actually be served, and you can validate this through the ad serving tool.
There are two types of YouTube channel available, depending on whether you're an individual content creator or you plan to operate as a brand online. Personal channels are populated with personal details and generally only have one administrator. Brand channels are run and managed by an advertiser or a company by multiple users. Critically, there are no personal details on this channel. On your YouTube channel, you can upload your videos and house your content online. And it's important to ensure that you keep your channel regularly updated. For example, any changes to your company branding. Your YouTube channel should reflect your business similar to your website would. To create a personal YouTube channel, search for YouTube on a computer or using the mobile site. If you try an action that requires a channel, such as uploading a video or posting a comment, you will be prompted to create a channel. Your details will automatically be populated with the details of your Google account. Check these details and confirm that you want to create your channel. To create a YouTube channel for a brand, search for YouTube on a computer or using the mobile site. Sign in to YouTube and go to your channel list. Follow the instructions on screen to help you create this channel.
When you sign up for a Google account, you can then go to youtube.com and set up your YouTube channel. So this would be a standard YouTube channel, and there are a number of features which we'll talk about throughout the remainder of this course. Let's look at beginning with uploading a video. So this is where you upload a video. You click on this button up in the corner and then you upload video. It then takes you to this screen where you can select your file to upload and then choose whether it will be public, meaning everyone can see it. Unlisted means it's viewable but only by those who have the link. Private means it's viewable only by certain people, and scheduled means that it is to go live. So let's upload a video. And then we choose our video and we press OK. So as YouTube starts uploading the video, we're able to optimize our description, our title and our tags in tandem with our upload. And then when we're happy, we can press publish. Then when the video is uploaded, we can go ahead and publish it. Currently it's saved as a draft, so it's not live just yet. At the bottom, we can choose a particular thumbnail. This is our starting screen. So something that we feel might be interesting to our audience, or indeed choose a file that we can customize ourselves. But we'll go into editing historical videos for thumbnails later too. So we'll just publish that, and that goes live onto our channel. Now we can still edit the video, like certain aspects of the video, the metadata of the video. When we're in the upload stage, we have our basic info here, which is our title, description and our tags. We also have different translation stuff if we want to add that in there, and then we have some advanced settings, and we can just personalize a little bit more about our video, allow people to contribute, allow people to share the video, embed the video, and we can set a category for what exactly the content of the video is about. Now if we want to go back or edit historical videos which we have uploaded, we can go to the YouTube Studio, which is available when you click the top right icon and then click on YouTube Studio. This brings us to our studio dashboard, and we can just click on videos to see all of the videos that we have uploaded. In our video list, we can simply click on the video itself. That will allow us to edit different aspects of the video, including up the top here, the advanced area, or indeed the thumbnail area. So we have these 3 thumbnails that YouTube has automatically designed and designated to us, but we're able to drag and drop our own image file that we can use as a starting frame, and that will be the thumbnail video for our video upload. Then to enhance our video with simple callouts, we can go to the other featured section of our studio and then go to cards. Then in the cards section, we can add a card here, and we can create a video or playlist, a channel card, a poll, and when we do have our website linked to our YouTube channel, we can provide a link. So these are ways, they're little things that appear here, and you can promote additional content, additional videos that you think might be relevant to this. You can promote another channel, you can ask a poll, or you can direct people to an off-site link. It's a way of adding interactivity to your YouTube videos in a very effective way, and you don't have to pay for these. These are part of the YouTube organic features. Now just remember, YouTube isn't the most intuitive navigational system, so up in this right hand corner here, you should always go back to my channel and then start from there, because otherwise you can get lost within the YouTube interface, as it's quite difficult to just navigate around. Now we do have our shortcut to YouTube Studio here when we're on channel, and we do have customized channel settings here, but we'll go into those again later.
Metadata helps the discoverability of your videos and tells the system about your content. This is the same metadata that you will later rely on, along with other content, to effectively target your advertising. It is best practice to add all of the relevant metadata, including video title, video description, and keyword tags to your video content. What are video thumbnails? Video thumbnails let viewers see a quick snapshot of your video as they are browsing YouTube. Follow these steps to add a thumbnail to your video. 1. Sign in to YouTube. 2. Go to Creator Studio, Video Manager. 3. Next to the video, click Edit. 4. On the left of the preview screen, choose a thumbnail. 5. Click Save Changes.
You can use your Video Manager to make changes to existing videos you have uploaded, including enhancing your video quality, editing the audio, or changing the descriptions. You can also add video thumbnails to your videos through Video Manager. It's important to add a thumbnail to your video that accurately represents its content. This is the viewer's first impression of your content, so it should invite them to watch and engage. You will need to verify your account to upload custom thumbnails. Verification just proves to the system that there's a real person behind this channel. To drive further engagement, you can add YouTube cards to your video. With these, you can add a link to click through to your website, videos on your YouTube channel, a playlist on your YouTube channel, or link them to your YouTube channel to view more. When creating YouTube content, it's important to remember the ABCDs of effective creative for video. Attract attention from the start. Brand naturally and meaningfully. Connect with the viewer through emotion and storytelling. Direct the user clearly with what you want them to do next. There are a number of tools available in the Creator Studio to help you manage your video content. You have your dashboards for notifications and alerts, your Video Manager to help you organize your video, community to review and respond to comments, your channel to adjust your channel settings, your analytics to review your channel performance, and create new videos from your library and with your editor. You can customize and manage your YouTube channel by clicking My Channel in the top right corner of the screen. Here you can add your name, description, any art or icons you may have. It's really beneficial to correctly set up and manage your YouTube channel. It ensures continued discoverability of your content online and keeps your presence on the platform consistent.
You can analyze your video performance using YouTube Analytics reports. These reports are generally most important for content creators who rely on the organic success of their videos and are on the receiving end of YouTube advertising. There are earnings reports, which include estimated earnings and ad performance, watch time reports, which include watch times, views, traffic sources, and audience retention.
Engagement reports, which include subscribers reports.
Now, the definition for email marketing is this. Email marketing is a structured, systematic process to deliver marketing messages to targeted subscribers. In essence, you may want to print this out and put it up on a wall somewhere in your office because it will literally guide the work that you're doing on a regular basis. A few more aspects of email marketing in terms of data management, which is very important because we don't want to just send emails for the sake of sending emails. We want to actually collect information on our readers and use that to continue to hone and evolve our structures and strategy and our content. And so you've got to look at three different points. Data collection, what is it that you're gathering from your various readers? Open rates and various sort of individual metrics that you can analyze. Data segmentation, look at various points along the way that may matter to you. And again, what matters to you has to connect back to your strategy. And so you're going to think about the specifics of which data points you're wanting to collect and how that's going to drive your email marketing. And the other aspect of this, of course, is data management. Who actually can see this data that's being collected, who can access it, who can utilize it, who can share it. As we get more and more digital, our data management becomes more and more important. Now, the user experience is central, and it's almost a mantra that you should repeat on a regular basis when it comes to your email marketing. Because, an email strategy, it must consider the user experience of individual users and the reasons why they're using the email platform. Everybody's different, but think about your user first and foremost, because that's really who matters in this context. Not you, the emailer, but the person who's receiving your message. Think about various audiences. Users email to run a business, use maybe email to keep in touch with their friends, or people use email to, email members of a club. There's a lot of different ways in which email marketing is utilized based solely on audience. And this actually goes for any digital marketing endeavor. Focus on your audience first. Those are the most important people in this channel. Now, growth strategy. The growth strategy of an email list is incredibly important because once again, if you don't have people there on your list, you're not going to have readers and it's not going to be as successful as you would want. Engage with your readers. If people come back to you with a response or reply, get back to them. I think that's one of the most important things of any campaign or any digital communication engagement is to actually respond and engage with your readers and create captivating content that engages them. Another aspect of this growth strategy is to inform people. Tell people things that they don't know. If you inform people of sort of content and information that they can't get elsewhere, your email list is going to become more and more important to them. You've got to provide value to them, something they can't get anywhere else. Now, incentivize readers. Once again, it kind of goes into the inform and engage aspect and almost kind of combines the two. But incentivize them. Once again, what motivates them? What are the things that will get them to click on your message and read through it and engage with your content. Either click through and engage in some sort of activity like buying something that you're advertising or promoting, maybe subscribing to another list or joining an event that you're putting on, or just being a regular reader and maybe someone who then disseminates and cross-pollinates and shares your content, which kind of goes into the idea of cross-selling. Everything is connected digitally, and so your audience, the people who read your emails, they become your sellers. They become the people who help cross-pollinate your content. Make sure that your email lists are easily shareable. Make sure the content is segmented in such a way that your email lists are easy to cross-sell. One of my favorite examples of an e-newsletter is called Next Draft. It's by a gentleman in San Francisco. His name is Dave Pell. And it's a wonderfully written 10-point, almost news list of the day. And he has segmented out his emails so that each sort of bit of content is easily shareable, easily linked to, in such a way that if, for example, I read something in his email, I can then tweet it out or share it on Facebook or post it on LinkedIn or put it somewhere else or just email it to a friend. That ability to cross-sell his literally engaging, informative content, it then incentivizes me to do something with it. And I would definitely suggest you take a look at Next Draft, not necessarily because of the content, if news and current events aren't something you want to look up, but look at the structure, look at the way he puts it out there, look at the way he has created something like a WordPress blog that kind of goes along with his email strategy, which works really well for him. Now, aligning email with strategy, branding your email, making your email connect with your brand. I think that's one of the things that has to be sort of at the core of what you're doing. Because again, if you have your brand over here and your email is over here, it's not going to connect. And as a reader, I want to make sure that I'm acknowledging or familiar with the brand that you're putting out there. And so you want to have the sort of sense of your email design that it connects with your branding strategy. And then ensure that you're communicating a consistent brand message and experience across all your communication channels. And that will go really well for you as a company. You'll see that the best emails in terms of email marketing are the ones that connect brand with strategy and then deliver that as an output via their emails. So outbound email marketing. Variety of companies that assist in this. There's a variety of businesses that's what they do. And if this is the kind of thing where if you Google outbound email marketing, there's going to be a lot of results. And so first thing, when it comes to outbound email marketing to think about is the idea of buying email lists, because it can give you a sort of quick return in a very short amount of time, because creating those email lists can take years and years and years to actually create a really solid, amazing email list. Alternatively, though, you can buy email lists, which will be targeted and curated and will provide you with emails that are active and being used, as opposed to emails that have maybe have been long forgotten, that type of thing. Number two, of course, is this idea of employing a freelancer to collect, sort of someone that you can hire to go out and help you bring in these email addresses and find relevant email addresses. Again, I think that idea of relevancy is really important. And then, of course, there's the freelancing platforms, the platforms that will help you build your lists, the platforms that will help you kind of get that jump start on your outbound email marketing, from Upwork or Freelancer or Guru, just to name a few. So, what are some of the disadvantages for purchase lists? And on this particular slide, we've got 4 items to think about. Irrelevant audiences. If your content is specific to a particular geographical area or to a particular industry or sector, or in age range, maybe a demographic, a cohort, for example, you want to make sure your content gets to the right person. That's extremely important. Your content has to get to the right audience. And if you've got an email list that has, irrelevant audience members, they're not going to read it. And it's going to skew your results. It's going to skew your data in terms of your open rates. And you want to make sure that you have people on your list who have a higher likelihood of clicking on your email and reading your content. Number two, and it's a bit morbid, I apologize, but dead email addresses. These may be email addresses of people who literally may be deceased, and or emails that just haven't been used for a long time. We have a long history of using email. Globally, there have been countless email providers. People have made their own email accounts on their own web servers. And then, they change jobs or they just stop using those messages, and dead email addresses, those, again, will give you inaccurate data. And you don't want to have those on your list. They're just, if you find an email that isn't for, it's not working or no one's using it, just get rid of it. You can cull some of your emails on there. Number three is this idea of unsolicited email addresses. These are the people who, they didn't really want to come to the party, right? They didn't want to come to your email marketing. Someone maybe added them, a friend thought they'd be interested in your content, or maybe it's, if you're doing B2B, maybe you already added them by default. Maybe you have a database of readers or people that are in your CRM, they're your contacts. However, people want to come to your content of their own accord. And so you want to make sure that, unsolicited emails or addresses, they don't get added to your list, because again, those are people that might not be interested in your content, and they might actually do more harm to your company and to your message and to your brand at the end of the day, because they didn't necessarily want to be there. Now, number four, and this is kind of a gray area for any of us who work within email marketing, is potential violation of spam and privacy laws. It is vital that you learn the privacy laws, the email laws essentially, of your region, of your sector, because again, you want to make sure that the content you're sending out, how you're sending it out, the list that you're sending it out to, that it's in line with applicable laws and regulations. And not just in your particular area, because once again, email is global. And so you want to make sure that you're following the laws and privacy regulations as much as you can on a global perspective. Now, when it comes to inbound email marketing, you want to attract customers to regularly subscribe. How do you get people to keep coming in? How do you attract people to keep coming in? Now, there's a few elements to this, and of course this list is just a snapshot of some of the things you can do. One thing you can do, though, is create a free guide directly related to your business. It's a sort of an exchange. You say, we'll give you this information, this PDF document, or an infographic, or some element of content related to the business, related to the sector, in exchange for a few details about you. And then a little checkbox to say, would you like more information? Would you like to subscribe to our lists? It's sort of I don't want to use the phrase quid pro quo, but it's an exchange. The other thing is lead capture forms. Once again, whenever you're creating your leads, your lists, you're doing lead generation, you want to capture email in there. You want to capture as much detail and information as possible about potential readers. And then, as I mentioned earlier in the example about my blog, email subscription forms. If you are trying to build a relevant list of readers, you essentially would like to put your email subscription form in as many places as possible, because you want people to see this. You want people to share it to their friends and say, hey, I'm reading this amazing email that is relevant to our sector, relevant to our industry. You too should subscribe, and make it really easy for your readers to essentially, in a grassroots method, share the word about your email and your email list. So what are some advantages to inbound email marketing? Quite a few, actually. Inbound email marketing is more effective as the customer, once again, chooses to hear from a business. That idea of choice is very important. This leads to greater engagement levels. I have chosen to come in. It's like when you walk into a store. You've made that choice as a customer, as a consumer, to walk in, to physically engage with this content. Build a relationship with highly qualified leads, and then form that strong brand community. If people feel like they are part of an inside group, they're getting content that no one else can get. I subscribe to a lot of professional colleagues, people who have really taken the time to build email newsletters in this sense, that give me information that I might not be able to just find on my own very easily. And they've done such a good job of curating this information for me that their email is something that I look forward to on a weekly basis. And then user engagement can be benchmarked against sales revenue to measure effectiveness of email marketing strategy. I think one of the things that we always have to challenge ourselves with when it comes to email marketing is to connect the dots. Connect user engagement to sales, and as well as sort of how it all leads and connects to our email marketing strategy. Because once again, we're not just doing email for the sake of doing email. We're doing it for revenue generation or content sharing and creation, or maybe it's connected to an ad campaign, that type of thing. There's a lot of reasons why we do it, but it has to all be connected and then benchmarked and using our data that we collect from, as I've mentioned earlier, something like a MailChimp, which gives you amazing analytics. A lot of email companies, they have to give you analytics these days because, once again, as I said, it's not just about sending out emails. It's about collecting information that you can then utilize to connect back to your purpose and your strategy and your goals. So a few things about subscriber lists, and this comes back into the idea of lead generation. When it comes to subscriber lists, you've got email users who have signed up to receive your marketing emails. Sort of these are different buckets really in terms of your subscriber list. Don't just rely on a single source for leads. Don't just rely on your website visitors. Cast a broad net when you're trying to create your list. Think about the variety of ways in which people connect with your content, connect with your company, and you've got, again, cast a broad net. Don't just think about your website visitors. They'll be an important way for you to get this list built up, but that won't be the only way. And then always remember this, and I'm always telling this to my clients, is that the online environment, it's rapidly changing. It is always evolving. Don't just rely on this quote idea of rented space for lead generation. There's going to be changing, moving quickly, and platform evolution is something that's always going to be happening. And so think about all the variety of ways and channels that you can use to build your list, to generate your list, be it a mobile app, social media, the web, and even some old school technology may be part of this. I mean, look at something like Snapchat or Twitter. They're using effectively QR codes to enable a certain action with their app or their site. And I think it's important for us to always sort of think about the marketing mix as well as all the variety of ways in which we build our lists. Key considerations for adding to subscriber lists. 6 points to think about. And some of these are the kinds of things that are just so easy to forget about because we have a lot of things on our heads, right? A lot of things on our plate we're trying to sort of gather and make meaning with. But number one is make it really easy for people to subscribe. Have a subscription button. That's probably one of the things that will get you more people to add themselves to your list than anything else, is having that subscription button right there, front and center. Make it so easy. You've gone to a website where the first thing that pops up is a, hey, would you like to join our list? Little submission box. Or the kind of thing when you're leaving a website and it says, before you leave, would you like to enter in your email address to subscribe to future content? All right, so number 2. Ensure that email address entry is as easy as possible. Once again, you want to just keep it simple, right? You want to keep it so simple that the user has no static, right? There's no user experience static that keeps them from entering in their information. You also want to encourage newsletter forwarding. Even adding a sentence or two that says, hey, if you like this content, share it with your friends. Or, hey, we've made this content so easy for you to share, just click here. The easier it is for people to share your content to their friends, their family, to their relevant business contacts, the more your list is going to get out there and populate to a greater audience. Number 4 is minimize the clicks to subscribe. I mentioned FeedBurner earlier, and FeedBurner, while great, has a lot of clicks to subscribe. And one of the things that I really like about WordPress.com is if you want to subscribe to new posts to a blog on WordPress.com, it's relatively easy. There's not a lot of clicks. You don't want to take up people's time. You want to make it really easy and simple for them to add themselves to your list. Now, number five kind of gets into that incentive idea that we mentioned earlier, which perhaps you could offer a special deal to new subscribers, something that only a new reader can get. Sometimes it's a discount on a product, sometimes it's access to a product, sometimes it's access to new content. But again, when people join an email list, they're joining a community, they're joining a group of people with shared affinity. And so if you offer something new in terms of a special deal to your new subscribers, that gives them sort of an incentive. But also you want to make sure that your existing subscribers don't feel left out if they're not getting the new stuff necessarily. So number 6 is invite subscribers through social networks. Now, I mentioned Twitter earlier. You know, you look at Twitter, LinkedIn, and who knows, we might add Snapchat to the mix, Instagram, LinkedIn, Tumblr, YouTube, and then think about things like Sina Weibo or QQ or WeChat or WhatsApp. The ways in which we connect with people and then let them know about our content and then possibly have that call to action be present in there, it's just growing and evolving. Twitter cards, for example, are a great way to directly invite people to subscribe to your content via a custom generated bit of data in a form on a particular tweet, which then can be actually targeted to a focus group of readers as opposed to just the wider world. So, persona development. It's probably my favorite thing about this idea of tone, voice, and who you are. It gives almost more of a personalized feel to the content that you're putting out there. Now, the first thing to think about is this idea of leveraging email marketing metrics. You use your data, your analytics, to develop your persona. Because again, looking at just this particular slide, things like email client, you know, what client are people using? Are they on a mobile device? Are they on a desktop? Looking at your clicks, did people click on certain bits of content, certain elements? Did they ignore other pieces of content? Look at your open rates, you know, time of day, when did people open your content? Everyone looking at it in the evening, in the morning? Is it kind of across the board? Devices, you know, from iOS to Android to desktop, PC to Mac, that type of thing. And then location, where are they located? Because once again, it can give you a clearer picture of your audience, which will then help you kind of just tweak and mold and create a voice that fits well with your readers. And you know, you call it persona development, you might call it voice, you might call it tone, but use your analytics, use your data to help you create that persona. And now we're going to talk about dividing databases, or some may call it segmenting. Now, a few things to think about when it comes to dividing databases. Improve targeting. Identify differences between the average persona of your existing versus target database. And I know some of this sounds a little bit dry, but again, this is all about creating an email marketing campaign and list that reflects your goals and strategy. As the second bullet says, does your database reflect the customers you are marketing for or marketing to? You want to make sure that everything is sort of custom tailored and bespoke to your audience. So what are the benefits of this? Well, it improves the effectiveness, you know, of your lead generation strategy and marketing. And again, if everything is connected to your audience, it makes effectiveness so much easier to achieve. And then also, you know, we all have a set amount of time, a set amount of resources, and you want to avoid wasting those valuable resources. You want to make sure that everything is tailored and customized in such a way that your activities are actually leading to something that connects to outcomes and goals. Lastly, on informed growth tactics, you know, determine if your database growth, if it has been successful to date. You know, look at it sort of as a timeline. And then again, delete those records that don't provide value. And so the best thing to remember about email marketing, and I know I say a lot of bests and favorite and the number one and whatnot, but everything is connected. your data, your lists, your audience, your content. It's all part of this sort of holistic email marketing mix, and that is really important to remember. So here's some list criteria. Identifying personas. Number one, very important. Targeting life cycle stages. And then segmenting for personalization. Now, what do those mean? Well, identifying personas, these are identifying the individuals that you're trying to reach, identifying how your own message is going out, targeting life cycle stages. Of course, this means, how you connect your content and your lists and your outreach effort to various points along the way. You've got a timeline that you've created. And then segmenting for personalization. There's nothing better than getting a personalized message. And some of this could be as simple as inserting someone's first name, their surname into a message, because it makes it feel more like it's directly reaching out to them. And again, very important aspect to list criteria. So, some types of emails. And there are a lot of different emails out there in terms of the messages that we send and how we send them. So I'm just going to go through a couple different kinds that you may want to think about. The number one are blast emails. And this is an email containing a message with just a call to action, or a CTA, sent out on a list of contacts with this sort of predefined criteria. That's you blasting it out to everybody, hitting the button, and it goes out to a bunch of different people. And there's a specific call to action, and that's it. It's just a single one-off blast message. Now, the other type of email is called a drip email. This is an email which is delivered on a regular basis, and it sort of builds up this larger sense of communication and community. And so, you might be sending this message maybe once or twice a week. The frequency and the regularity of it's going to depend on your goals, again, your outcomes, and your audience in terms of what they're doing with your email. Now, the third one here is probably the most popular, at least in this day and age, that we've seen sort of the most growth in, is the newsletter. They've been around forever, but their efficacy just continues to amaze people. And the newsletter is an email containing news and updates that have to do with the industry or the company. And sometimes this is where you get into the stuff that only your subscribers can get access to. That sort of in-group, specific, honed content or information that makes your newsletter, once again, worthwhile to subscribe to. Now, the thing with these three different types of emails, from blast emails, drip emails, to newsletter, you may end up using all three with a variety of components of your email list. Because once again, if I subscribe to a newsletter, you could hit me up every once in a while with a blast email, or a drip email of, hey, we're going to just sort of send this out. Not a newsletter, mind you, but maybe just an update about what's going on, maybe behind the scenes. And then there's the regular newsletter. So you may end up looking at all three. And I know that sounds like a lot of work, and it is, but therein lies the reward, right, of using email for marketing. So a little bit more on types of emails, and there's quite a few, as I mentioned earlier. Advocacy emails to events. Obviously these are a little bit self-explanatory, from one-offs or abandoned cart messages, or a re-engagement message, or even an automated message that goes out, or just a welcome. But it is important to sort of label your messages so that okay, hey, this week we're going to send out an event-oriented message, or this week or this month is going to be kind of a one-off. Or this one is kind of a re-engagement, a hello again type of message. Automation plays a massive part in email marketing. And there's a few different things to think about when it comes to automation. From welcome emails, which of course you don't want to have to send a welcome email every time to someone manually. You want to automate this process, because again, these are the kinds of emails that you'll curate them, you'll create a bespoke message that goes out and say, hey, welcome to our email list, welcome to this or that, glad you're on board. Some event emails may be generated via automation, some abandoned cart emails, sort of the, hey, we noticed that you were looking at this particular item. Are you still interested? Would you like to come back? Would you like to re-engage with that product? And abandoned cart emails, you never know what a reader's going to think with that. I think sometimes, when it comes to that technology, just kind of play it by ear. See what people say to you. Really listen to that feedback on abandoned cart emails. And then re-engagement emails are the, hello again, glad you're here. Haven't heard from us for a while, or maybe we just wanted to check back in with you. These are things you can automate very easily. Now, we talked about automated emails. Let's talk about one-off emails. These could be advocacy emails saying, hey, we've got a campaign running about a certain event, current things that are happening, newsletters, and then some event emails yet again. And so, automation can enable you to keep up with the churn and volume of your emails in such a way that you don't have to have this sort of manual process of sending it out or hitting a giant button every single time, and it can provide a lot of value to your readers and to your audience. So let's talk about content. Let's talk about effective marketing emails. What are the attributes of these effective marketing emails? And obviously at the core, we've got what we hope is an effective marketing email. It can include things like relevant content. Is it relevant to your audience? Is it timely? Is it informative? Is it user-centric? Does it sort of make the reader feel as if it's personalized to them, targeting them specifically? Does it demonstrate the value of your company? Does it demonstrate the ethos, what you're trying to do, what you're all about? Your email is representing your company. It's representing your brand every single time. At the personal level, at the corporate level, it's representing you and your company. What message does it convey? Ideally, it conveys some sort of message that comes across. Maybe it's a story, maybe it's an action, but at least it conveys something to the reader. Lastly, does it engage the recipient with great design? Great design really does matter. It used to be you could probably send an email and it wouldn't necessarily have to look that good. But now, graphic design has caught up with quality content. And so your emails are going to include a wide array of features, things like animated GIFs, static images, compelling text, and a graphical interface or a user experience that actually looks really good from a design perspective. So those are some of the key elements to an effective marketing email. A few more of the features of an effective marketing email. 1, compelling subject line. Once again, the subject line of your email matters so much because at the end of the day, that's almost the first thing that a reader sees. They usually see who sent them the message and what's it all about. And the what's it all about question is answered in your compelling subject line. Second is concise, relevant copy. Keep it short, keep it sweet, keep it compelling, keep it interesting. Don't overdo it. Don't think that you have to get everything to your audience with one email. You have an opportunity with an email and an email marketing campaign and plan to slowly build community, to sort of generate connection. You don't have to have everything in one single message because if you try to do that, what often happens is people won't pay attention. Keep it concise and keep it relevant. Number 3, clear calls to action. Let people know what it is that you're trying to get them to do in this email in a very clear, concise way. What's the call to action? What are you trying to get people to do? If it is confusing to the reader what you're trying to accomplish, then you're not going to get a lot of calls to action. You're not going to get people to do what you want. You're not going to have a lot of open rates in the future because guess what? It goes back to number 2, number 1. Now, number 4. Number 4 is probably one of the neatest thing that's kind of happened or emerged over the years when it comes to email marketing, because we've enabled this sense of greater and greater personalization. Remember the first time you got a piece of direct mail, right? A physical snail mail. And it had, depending on when you watch this, if we're in the far future and mail is totally gone, disregard this point. However, remember when you had the piece of mail
and it had your name on it, and it had this sort of sense of personalization to it. It made you feel as if someone in an office somewhere had sent you this piece of mail, and it made you feel something because it made you feel special. It made you feel that this was actually personalized to you. The same thing goes with email. Emails that make you feel as if the sender actually is just sending it to you and not a million people, that makes the reader much more interested. It's compelling content in a way because guess what? It's just to them. It's not to a bunch of different people. So personalization does matter. Of course, personalization is one of those things that you don't want to mess up on personalization too. Just a little side note, how many of you have received emails that say dear and it has an underscore or it has some blank, insert copy here language where someone forgot to input the personalization field in the database or in the email service provider software. So remember, personalization is great, but make sure you double check to make sure that it is actually personalized to each reader. Okay, effective subject lines. What are some of the attributes of effective subject lines? It's important to use explicit, actionable language. Don't be vague. Keep it clear. What do you want people to do? Ideally, open it up, take a read through, maybe click on some links, share some stories, share some content. Actively avoid those spam trigger words that we talked about in the previous module. We didn't mention words specifically, but you can use your common sense to know which words might be the words to avoid. Because clearly you don't want to trigger those spam sort of junk filters, the filters that will say, nope, your message isn't getting through, you're hitting a wall. So again, clear, concise subject lines, actionable, and use explicit language just to let people know this is what it's all about. Inform them, catch their eye, give them a hook. Those are some of the effective subject line attributes. The more personalized an email, the higher your chances for increased click rates, getting more people to click on your email and to click within the content of your email because, again, it is tailored, it is bespoke, it is customized for those individuals. That sense of greater relevancy, as point number 2 says, is it relevant to me? I only have a certain amount of time during the day, the week, the month, the year. And relevant content is what I'm looking for. Don't waste my time. You don't want to waste the reader's time. You want to make sure that things are tailored to them. When you do this, when it's more personalized, you're going to have a lower incidence of spam, right? Spam complaints. People won't be saying, hey, this is spam. You don't complain that something is spam when it's relevant to you. And then last but not least, and perhaps one of the more important aspects of this, is greater customer acquisition. If people see content that is more personalized to them via email, as I said in my previous example of the fashion, my wife and myself, you would acquire me as a customer if you provide me with material and information and products and services that are relevant to the things that I might want to buy and acquire and engage with. So segmentation from an aligning content perspective. Here are 3 different individuals, Christina, Dave, and Amanda. These are sort of our case studies, right, of how you segment, how you align. Because again, Christina, Dave, and Amanda are 3 different people, 3 different unique individuals with interests, likes, dislikes, preferences, etc. You've got Christina, she's 21 years old. She lives in a rural location. She likes sports, and she's a student. Dave, on the other hand, is 35-year-old. He's a parent. He works a part-time job. And he likes craft and home improvement, kind of his hobbies, right? And then Amanda. Amanda is 40 years old. She's career-driven. She's single, no children. She likes travel and motoring. These are 3 disparate individuals who have very different likes and dislikes. When you segment their content from your email list, you're going to provide them with much more relevant, much more personalized information. Because that's what we do in every context. We always segment. So remember this with your email marketing. Align your content to the individuals you're trying to reach. If you send content to Dave that was tailor-made for Amanda, it's not going to work. If you send an email to Christina and it's about craft and home improvement, when she wants to know about sports in a rural context, No, you send that content to Dave. Dave is your craft and home improvement guy. Or you know what? Travel. Amanda likes to go around the world, so you send her information relevant to travel if that's the industry, if that's the list that she's on. Now, my mom studied English at university. She's a stickler for well-formatted copy. Now, she might not have said that when I was a kid growing up, but she was all over me when it came to grammar and spelling. And so here's the thing. What are some of the qualities of well-formatted copy? Well, one, use of headings. You've got to break your email down into digestible components. Make it almost like a miniature blog post. If you look at what makes blogs successful, it's been the way they enable people to digest content in ways that are just easier to read and easier to segment out. So you think about a single paragraph style. If you look at most journalistic entities on the web, they're using a single paragraph style. Not because it necessarily aligns with the old sort of copy rules of the day, but because it's far easier for people to read and digest a single paragraph style. Keep uniform link color across the board. Don't use a rainbow of colors for your links. Every link should be the same color, letting the reader know this is a link that I should click on or that I can click on, and then leaves them no room for confusion. Lastly, create a balance or a harmony between imagery and text. You always want to have this balance, right? You don't want to have too much imagery and keep like a few lines of text, because your text will get lost in all these images. And vice versa. If you're going to use important imagery, don't just bury it under mountains of text. So think about how you segment your content, how you chunk it together. What is well-formatted copy? Well, it is these 4 different things. And so always keep these things in mind. And a great way, though, if you want to sort of see who's doing it well and great examples, look at blogs, look at industry, look at the sectors in which you work, and you'll see countless examples on the web and on mobile of easily digestible content. So headings. What makes for a compelling heading? Getting people to read and sort of look through your content within your email. Well, also via your subject line, not just the body of the copy in the email. So the first thing would be the question. These are the subject lines that ask a question, hinting at the fact that there's an answer in the actual email. So you hook people in by asking a question but not providing the answer, and the answer, of course, is in your email, which is a great way to engage and compel someone to click through and open up your email. Number 2 is similar, and it says how to. And it's almost asking a question like how to do this, how to do that. Well, you want to learn more, you have to click the email. You have to go in, you have to dive deeper. Number 3 is the announcement subject line. The announcement subject line is the kind of subject line that says, hey, guess what? This just happened. Celebrate with us, or here's something new we're launching. It's something never before seen. And it's kind of like what's happening behind the curtain. We'd like to announce it to you. We'd like to show it to you. Another subject line, which kind of goes hand in hand with the popular format of making lists in blog posts, is the number subject line. The number subject line basically says, hey, we're going to create a subject line that says 7 things that something, 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 etc. Most people want to know, well, what are those 7 things? I'd like to know. The number subject line is another way to hook the reader into going into your content, right? Because that's the number one challenge, is getting through all the static and all the emails and all the messaging that everybody's getting. So the number subject line is a great way for you to hook people, get their attention. Number 5 is the curiosity gap. Create a gap, create some curiosity, right? Sort of tease the reader with something and then say, you want to fill in the gap. It's in the email. That's the curiosity gap. Again, anytime you can compel someone into thinking, I wish I knew more about this, that's going to lead to a successful subject line. And then there's the personalized subject line. The personalized subject line, I will say, that doesn't get used as often, not yet anyway. The personalized subject line, though, gives the reader something about themselves in the subject line, which, case in point, I've seen it on Facebook quite a bit, where there's a custom t-shirt, and it has my name in it. It'll say Stoller in the name of the shirt. It's sort of graphic illustration on the shirt. Now that's a great personalization that hooks me in every time in those particular Facebook ads, because it's got my name front and center and it makes me pay attention to it. The same thing goes for an email that goes out. If it has someone's name in the subject line, like, hey Eric, this post is for you, there's a greater chance I'm going to pay attention to it because it feels a little less formal. It feels more personalized. It feels as if it came from a friend or a colleague or someone that I already know really well. So some things to think about when it comes to formatting. Specifically, features to avoid in excess. You don't want to format excessively. It's really important to sort of, operate under the principle of less is more. And in this case, don't overdo bold. If everything is bold, then nothing is bold, right? You want to make sure that you don't overdo it. Same thing goes with underlining. Don't underline everything. Underline only those pieces of content that actually should be underlined or are interesting enough to be underlined. Same thing goes with colors. Don't confuse a reader with too many colors, too much rainbow. We have a lot of colors at our disposal, but keep your colors in your email marketing in line with your brand's strategy, your brand's imaging and communications guidelines. That will help you so much. Same thing goes with italics. If you see a lot of italics, it can turn you off. It's just not as legible. It's not easy to read. And all these things, from too much boldness to underlining everything to issues with colors, and maintain contrast in there as well. I think that's another important piece. And italics, all these items on this list of excessive formatting, think about how it's going to look on a small screen. Too much formatting can make something almost illegible. You can't read it on a small screen. It's very important to look at. What do you do about simple personalization? Well, what are some personalization tags? Now, these are obviously dependent on data that's collected. You can only personalize if you have data on people that you can use when you create these templates. Most of the time, you're going to have a first name, you're going to have a company name, and you're going to have a job title. So in my case, it would be Dear Eric from Inside Higher Ed, Higher Education Consultant. It's a little boring, but again, you get the idea, right? You could say, Dear so-and-so of this company, this is your job. And guess what? The more detailed, the more information you have on someone, the more you can personalize it. And I have found that the emails that I tend to open and am consistently captivated by are the ones that show a great amount of personalization. So dynamic content, let's talk about that, how that really plays into personalization. So the utilization of dynamic content has been around for a long time in many different facets of marketing. Now, from an email template perspective, there's certain things to think about. One is the purchase cycle. Are your readers purchasing certain elements or certain items on a regular basis? And you then can put up an ad relevant to those purchases. Or to say, hey, we know that you buy this from us every few months. And as part of that, we're also going to suggest maybe you might be interested in this because we know what you've been up to. And that kind of plays into subscriber behavior. If a subscriber consistently clicks on the first 2 stories or the first 2 items in your email, maybe the stuff at the bottom isn't as popular, or maybe you should flip it around a little bit. See if, it's kind of like A/B testing, because at the end of the day, it could be the case where people just aren't getting through your email because it's too long. Or maybe the graphic at the top is something that's always been compelling and they just never made it past the bottom. And you just think about that in a mobile context and it gets even more messy, because guess what? That graphic could fill the whole screen and they may never even realize that you had more text near the bottom of the post or the bottom of the email. Gender, obviously, again, this kind of goes into purchase cycles, purchase behavior, subscriber behavior, date of birth. If you have someone's birthday, you can input that into your dynamic content and personalization. And so every year, for example, I'll get an email from Starbucks saying, hey, happy birthday. Have you gone to Starbucks today to celebrate your birthday? It will give you a certain discount or a free drink, that type of thing. Another piece of dynamic content as regards to kind of autoresponders especially is this idea of cart abandonment. And if you don't know what cart abandonment is, that's okay. It's just a fancy way of saying you went to a website, you thought about purchasing something or buying something or engaging in some transaction, and then you got distracted, or you had too many tabs open, or your computer crashed, or you just stepped away for a little while, you just decided not to get something, or maybe you wanted to think it over. Well, cart abandonment in regards to dynamic content means that you'll get an email saying, hey, haven't heard from you for a little while. Are you still interested in purchasing this airline ticket, or this new thing, this piece of electronics, or this service? Because we know you were looking at it based on your activity. And then geolocation too. In terms of dynamic content, you don't want to wish someone, a bright, sunny, warm day when they're located in a cold, gray, wintry country. It's just not going to play very well. First and foremost, I, for one, would rather be in the sunny country. And so geolocation matters. If you're sending out emails to a bunch of people in Iceland, you want to talk about relevant things to say to people in Reykjavik as opposed to what's going on in Des Moines, Iowa. I know, seemingly disparate examples, but that's where geolocation plays a major part in the dynamic content and personalization play that you make in your email marketing efforts. So some considerations. More targeted, increasing the likelihood of repeat purchases, and customers like personalized content. Here's an example of Amazon. Amazon's probably one of the greatest examples of personalized email content on the web that I've ever seen. They do a great job with cart abandonment. They do a great job of sending you relevant emails based on your previous purchasing history and your behavior. And they're also very contextualized to your location and to where you are. So some calls to action, some approaches. One is a single offer with one call to action. One day only, click here, you can do this. It's very simple, can be very powerful though, because it's not confusing, it's not overwhelming to the user. It gives the user one thing to do, one thing only, saying this is what you can do in order to receive this, that, and the other. Alternatively, multiple stories, each with their own calls to action. I think sometimes this can be very appealing, especially to the big brands who are trying to get you to engage with various elements, be it content, be it product, be it service. But I find sometimes those emails can be a bit more complex to handle, because what happens is that the user has so many different things that they could potentially be doing. It's hard for them to know which one to pick. And so, not that either a single offer or a multiple story is better than the other, because I think they both can have their applicability, but it's just important to realize that at the end of the day, as we've said many, many times, the user experience is everything when it comes to your email marketing efforts. And calls to action, you only get so many chances with a reader. You want to get people to do something, you want to sort of take an email and make it turn into an action. You're not going to get that opportunity all the time. So think very tactically, think very strategically when you do that. The hero message. Well, the hero message is all about garnering attention. A hero message emphasizes the main goal of an email marketing campaign. Here in this particular example, it says products to power your online visibility. Bam, it just says what you need, what they do, no questions asked. There's nothing vague about this. It tells you, why you would interact with them, why you would engage, what's the value to you as a consumer. The hero message is one of those things where it's all about the attention, right? And you want to get as much attention, because attention is everything, as we know in this industry. And email marketing is competing for eyeballs. You are competing for people's attention. And so remember that the hero message can be a great way for you to garner attention. Another different way for a call to action, it's all about gaining clicks. Now, think about a few different things here. Think about placement. Where do you put the call to action in the context of the user experience? This is where marketers and communicators and strategists really need to align with user experience and graphic designers, UX, UI individuals, because again, where you place things, how you place it, the design does matter. Now, at the top here, you can see that it says who's calling who to what, right? Basically, clearly identifying this is who's asking for the call to action. Hopefully you as the reader will go ahead and do it. And again, it's good to have clearly identified calls to action. And to always ask yourself, what is in your CTA? What is in your call to action? What are you trying to accomplish? What are you trying to do? How are you going to measure it? And then think just about the design overall. And I know I keep saying this over and over again, but mobile is important. Now, use your data. For your company, maybe mobile isn't as important. Maybe your stats say that people are going onto desktop and that's how they're accessing your content. That's cool. Keep doing that. Focus on that, but always be ready to evolve and to grow with your audience. So if your audience, your customers are going into more mobile and mobile transactions, then you too should be going with them.